Welcome to day 3 of the ERWC II, where we are on iRacing today, battling it out for $50,000. Team Redline, Unicorns of Love are tied. Lewis, what are we in store for today?
Well, it's probably going to be full of plenty of action. The Lotus 79 is a hard car to drive, and Team Redline, they're looking like the dominant force.
Well, hello everyone. It's time to wrap up the weekend. 2 days are down. It's set up for a blockbuster showdown to close out the Esports Racing World Cup for 2023. My name is Arjuna Kenkipati. Delighted to have you back here as we get set to go racing on iRacing. It's time to head over to what is going to be maybe the most difficult challenge of them all, the Lotus 79, a car that none of these drivers likely would have had. Let's head on over then to Lewis and Luke live on location in Simply Race, who are getting ready to walk us through all of the action as we close out this journey that has been the Esports Racing League. Started, of course, in January of 2022. It's landed back at Simply Race in February of 2023. Luke, 2 great days of racing, and we go into the final day with the Unicorns of Love and Team Redline tied on points with it all to play for.
Yeah, we've kind of come to the final day with an expected leader in the championship and then a very unexpected tie leader with Unicorns of Love. Of course, they were at the start of this championship, maybe, was it 14 months ago now, I guess, as the real underdogs. Really good on ACC, but didn't really have a lot to offer on rFactor 2 or iRacing. Yesterday, a top 4, so really good performance. It's going to take a hell of an effort, because they have the better Team Redline today, right? So, yeah, can they do it? It's very unlikely, but the way the format works here, one bad race and you're pretty much done and dusted. So, you know, if Redline have an off day, Unicorns Love have a best day ever, the potential is there for an upset. Very possible.
It was 2 interesting tracks that we had for you, the VCO community, to pick from. We'll talk more about that in a few moments' time. We've talked a lot about being live on location in Simply Race. Let's learn more about it. Of course, Lewis, part of the fun was meant to be having the drivers on site as well, but I know I've been watching on from afar. It looks like you guys on site, at the very least, have had a great time walking through all of the action.
Yeah, I mean, I will say when it comes to the drivers being on site, if they would be practicing at this point and they'd be taking up the sim rigs and stopping us from having a go, at which point we've had a lot of fun on those rigs, including Florian and Yannick. They've been jumping on plenty of times. You can see there's Cam Roger, also Luca being sat there. So we can't tweet us now. You can just come over to the
You probably
desk.
will, won't he? If you're over there, like, well, no, you're actually wrong on this. This driver did this. You know, Stato over there.
It's a lot of fun though.
Yeah.
Better without.
Well, what are we fighting? What are we fighting for in this Esports Racing World Cup? Let's take a look at it. So there was a look at the physical prize that our teams will be walking away with. Lewis had one slung over his shoulder at the very start of the broadcast today. It's not just about the physical trophies, though. We've got cash prizes on the line as well. Daily prizes across of each of the simulators, and of course our championship prize as well. Luke, each day pays out $2,500. Our champions walk away with $10,000. All tots up to $50,000 across 3 different days.
Yeah, it's a lot of cash, isn't it? Ultimately, you know, it's great winning the belt, but they're looking to win a lot of cash as well. There's also the most valuable driver, of course, so the driver with the most podiums at the end of today. will take home $500 as well. And translating that to beers, that's a lot of beers.
Who do you think's going to do it? I think it's...
I think Enzo for sure.
Yeah, he's got his little love tribute to Enzo
sure.
over this side of the desk. I've seen that.
33 teams over the course of the Esports Racing League will whittle down to the 12 qualifiers for the World Cup. As it stands right now, of course, with 2 days of play already in the books, our championship standings have already very much set up what's going to be an exciting day of racing. If you missed the first 2 days of this World Cup, though, new format to talk about. Let's dive into that now.
The VCO Esports Racing World Cup features 12 of the best teams in sim racing, bringing 5 drivers each to total 60 drivers. Over 3 days of competition, they'll race on 3 platforms, all for 1 title. Each day will begin in the heats, where all 12 teams will compete. The top 6 moves through into the quarterfinal upper bracket, and the bottom 6 will move through into the quarterfinal lower bracket. From this, the quarterfinal upper bracket, 3 teams will automatically transfer into the final. The bottom 3 teams will move into the semi-finals. Into the quarterfinal lower bracket, teams will fight for survival, 3 progressing through into the semi-finals and 3 being eliminated. The semi-final will see 6 of the last 9 remaining teams battle it out to be in the top 3 to move through into the final. In the final, the last 6 teams will fight it out to be in the top 2 spots who will move through into the showdown. This is where things will change as combat moves to one team against another in a best of 3 showdown for the day's top honours.
Oh, there we go. We'll say goodbye to our junior. We'll kick him. I thought he was bringing us back.
No,
he's bailed from the broadcast. Absolutely fine, of course. The format's interesting. It's it's kind of one of those things that chops and changes all of the time. It's kind of one of those things that we like to be experimentive with.
Yeah, it's basically if you're winning every race, you get one less race to do, and also you get a nice gap between your second race and the final. But ultimately, there's always a second chance. So if you lose at any point today, you will still get a second chance to go through. So that normally ends up giving you the best teams at the end.
Also, I blame our junior. It definitely says it on my screen that it was definitely us to talk there, but that's absolutely fine. Unicorns of Love and Team Redline, after victory on day 1 and a victory on day 2, the Unicorns of Love and Team Redline respectively. As has been said earlier on this broadcast, they are 1 and 2 in the standings. They're joint leaders, effectively, with one final day to play for the ERWC crown. Basically, who beats who across the day, which is what we like to see. BS competition, though, after a fantastic day yesterday, they really did well to get through to that final, and they even impressed us in that showdown where they took it really properly to Team Redline. They're in 3rd. TRITON Racing, RHG, and Veloce, the top 6 with Williams, Burst, Yaz Heat, Apex, Arnage, and Fordzilla rounding out the groups. Any real surprises in there?
Not really. It really is a 3-team race, to be honest. If the team in 4th and 5th need to or can win this, basically they need all of the top 3 to not make it to the final, which is going to be very difficult for all 3 to do so. So it would have to take something pretty crazy. Here is a look at the most valuable driver then. Dara McCormack, who got 6 out of 6 podiums on ACC on Friday. Bastian Richter of Unicorns of Love with 5, tied with Dominic Blyer, with Enzo Benito, who is on 4, a bit of an iRacing specialist as well, so expect him to get a few today. And we've got Mitchy Tauscher on 3 at the bottom there. $500 going to the driver at the top of that list.
And Bastian Richter and Dominic Blyer and Enzo Benito are all in action today. Dara McCormack is not in action today. He has done with the ERWC, and so his time of trying to do that is over. So he is the leader at the moment, but I do generally feel that man there, Enzo Benito, might be in the sort of the rival. But I will say, when we're going to talk about this board, by the way, because you know what time it is, we love a bit of this. Are we just going to stick this over top of Enzo?
Yeah,
why not? Why not? So I've got these in reverse order as to where they are in those standings. So we'll start with Fordzilla.
Very difficult to put them any higher than at the bottom, to be honest. Like, again, very much appreciate them fulfilling their team, being involved in the championship, but it's just not being great. And they lost a couple of their really strong drivers in qualifying for this stage to other teams, so they've been weakened by other teams, which has then obviously strengthened them.
Huge respect to them. I think they did better than we expected yesterday. They actually looked like they had some decent pace at various points. That could well be the same today, but still, I think they're Arnage competition now.
I think maybe just a touch above Fordzilla.
Touch above. I kind of go with the same bit. We'll put them slightly off to the side.
I think this is the one team that they could genuinely surprise us on.
Apex Racing Team, this low in the standings. I am expecting them to be very strong today. We'll put them around there because I think there's a little space up here where I think going to put
Oh, I
Redline.
disagree. I think they're going to be right up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll go with Yaz Heat.
I think that they will be even lower than Fordzilla
Really?
today. Yeah.
Really?
Well, then they've got Emily Jones, right?
They do, and like this.
Emily Jones is a bit of a kicker, so actually I'll put them
this
on
kind of car.
par with Arnage.
Them on par. There we go. Nice. Burst. Open wheel specialist Jane Simic says that he's not going to do so well in this. So
Just below Apex.
just
I think
below-
they're going to
just-
surprise us today.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're going to surprise us today.
Goodness me. We'll put them there.
Copy.
Cool. Williams Esports
Alongside Burst.
alongside Burst. Okay, so I think around there for Williams Esports. Now we're getting into some of those heavy hitters higher up in the standings. We've got the sister team for Yaz Heat. We've got Veloce.
I'd put them on a par with Yaz Heat, to be honest. I think they've had their stronger days already.
If we put it over this side, so it's
Yeah.
it's nicely spread out. R8G. Now their car looks really good today. And I mean livery wise.
Alongside ART, or maybe even a little bit above.
Really?
I think so.
Even above?
Yeah.
Wow. We'll angle it up. We'll have like a nice little diagonal. We're literally making this up as we go along. It's fantastic. Triton Racing, final race for Dominic Blyer for the Triton Racing team.
Just below R8G and Apex. I think TRITON are going to have a really good day.
I completely agree. I completely agree. BS really surprised us yesterday. I get the feeling, this is not me trying to earn some more money, but with Phil, etc., I think they're going to be very strong today. I would put them in this kind of category with ART, with R8G.
I don't think so. I think they're going to be alongside TRITON, maybe a little bit lower. But their logo is so big that they end up being in like 3 different categories.
There you go. And then the two big ones.
Right, so
Redline
at the top.
Redline, I have absolutely no doubt, are here.
And
Unicorns of Love?
because of what we've seen from them on iRacing, they were the worst team on iRacing. They've never got above bottom spot, right?
No, I think they've got above bottom in the
But they're always around the bottom.
They do struggle.
Still, they prove us wrong. So a big opportunity for them. They have to go down there.
Well, I mean, obviously their partnership with the Apex Racing team might help in this scenario, but there we go.
But I think that this is going to be the one team that's like a story that they're going to rise all the way up here. So
that's our tier list.
Yeah,
and we do make it up as we go along, and we were completely wrong yesterday. So there we go. That'll sit over there, and Luke will gloriously throw all of those off at various points throughout the broadcast. I think we're
I'm going to aim for people today as well. Properly aim.
There's only one person to aim for. That is poor Laura over there.
If you had an injury at work.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go to the grid anyway because the heat is about to start. So the first qualifying session complete, and of course it's Enzo Benito on the top with Carl Janssen alongside, Dominic Blyer in third, Tamas Simon in fourth for the Arnage competition, making it 4 different teams inside the top 4. Going for 5 from 5 as Alejandro Sanchez sticks it in 5th position, still within 2/10 of pole position. So Muto also in 6th. Andre Martins and Diogo Pinto 7th and 8th, with Luke McEwen in 9th position, David Toth in 10th. Chris Lulham, the 3rd and final Redline car, in 11th, as we'll let the rest of them scroll their way through. R8G 14th, 15th and 17th. That sounds really bad until you realise this is a 36-car grid and we're looking for the top 6 teams to go through. Also, take a look at that Unicorns of Love running a classic livery today. A little bit of a throwback. They said they were going to do it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, they've gone for the proper Lotus colours, right, from the era. So, absolutely on board with that. Fair play to Unicorns of Love. And like I was saying to you previously, before the broadcast, I was saying, it'd be nice one day to get 10 years into sim racing and start getting actual sim racing livery throwbacks. So that'd be pretty exciting to see. But anyway, take it away, Lewis. We're here for the heat.
Yes, indeed. So it'll be a short run down towards what is an extremely fast first corner. We'll have to see if Enzo Benito is going to be able to get going from that as we'll head down towards doing it. It'll be a standing start for Enzo Benito to contest and the entire one of our 36-car grid. It was difficult yesterday at Interlagos on day 2 on rFactor 2 with the Infinity Q50. I get the feeling that this style of car will be even harder. That's the fear for a lot of these. Getting off the line cleanly. I'm expecting we might have a little bit of carnage towards the back end of the top 10. We'll have to wait and see, though, as for the first time on day 3 on iRacing for ERWC II, we're about to get underway as the heat races into action at Phillip Island. We are underway as the screaming Lotus 79 fires its way down towards the first corner. You can see Lulham getting a decent start there in the background, moving up inside the top 10. Enzo Benito hangs onto the race lead from Dominic Blyer, but Janssen straight around the outside of the first corner with the inside run into turn 2. That's Arnage being sent over the infield as well as one of the other cars. That's an enormous crash. R8G in there, Apex in there, BS as well.
Yeah, there we go. That is not ideal. I think Unicorns of Love have got a driver in there as well. And you're right, Carnage was the recipe of the day, and it was absolutely delivered there. As we head them back to the leaders, Benito does lead to Janssen. Janssen had a really good ACC day, and this is his preferred sim iRacing, so expecting big things from Carl. We've got Blyer then in third spot, trying to give his farewell to Triton as best it possibly can, currently in a podium position, and also is going for the most valuable driver, so it'd be quite interesting to see Benito versus Blyer if they ever get tied on podiums across the day.
Williams looking really strong here, of course, with Janssen and Sotomuto at the moment in second and fourth. I mean, you spoke before about some of the earlier performances through the week. Definitely you can throw Muto into that with the performances back, and Janssen, of course, back on ACC. But as they race their way through then the final corner, the 12th and final one, that's actually a really tricky corner. There you go, you're getting a good look at that Redline. We were talking about liveries earlier on in the day. Redline's quite a pretty car.
Yeah, it is. It's just, unfortunately, it's a little bit more difficult to see on this car because of the sunlight as to which one's which. As we go 3 wide, heading down across the start-finish line, down towards turn number 1. And surely this is not going to end well here. You've got Yazzie on the inside, BS competition on the outside, and we've got the third Williams car, I believe. Yeah, sweeping through as well. And actually, fair enough, they've actually got through there nicely. And everyone's still going the right direction as RAG and Blaster or Burst have a little bit of contact. That was the first time I haven't intentionally
I was going to say that was not actually intentional. We do have a blast man in the house with Cam Roger, who's currently watching on behind us. As we'll see that big switch, Moreno Sarica then straight down the inside of, I believe, Thibaut Casabon heading down through the first corner. As we take a look at what's happening elsewhere. As we'll head back to the action. Enzo Benito comfortably at the front. Janssen, Blyer, Muto and Simon for our Arnage competition. So who's the teams that's looking good then? Redline, of course, as you would expect. Williams definitely doing so as well. The Apex Racing team with Alejandro Sanchez and Luke McEwen running in 6th and 11th position. RAG, where's their second car? They've got Thibaut Casabon being their highest placed driver. And they're feisty after yesterday. They still feel hard done by, but, you know, they are. Exactly. They're not looking super strong at the moment with 12th, and I don't know where the next car is.
Yeah, right. It's going to be a bit of a mashup to find the final 2 teams, I'd say. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting indeed to see who the sort of 5th and 6th teams are. Just to explain to everybody right now, we've got ourselves 36 drivers, 3 per team, and the top 2 drivers of your team count towards your score. So you want the lowest score possible. So if you're P1, P2, you score 3 points. The third driver's points do count in terms of penalty points. So if they get a penalty, that will add to your top 2 drivers' score as well. The top 6 teams will advance through to our upper bracket, and then the lower 6 teams will advance down to the lower bracket. So effectively, meaning they are 1 race away from elimination.
Oh, Sotomuto going for a move on Dominic Blyer for 3rd position. Meanwhile, Janssen's keeping Enzo Benito for company. The switch not completed as they head round Siberia, and the long S's section up towards Lukey Heights is going to see them go side by side for 3rd position. Sotomuto trying to drag his way past Dominic Blyer, and we'll see them head up towards Siberia, and still Sotomuto has made his way through into 3rd position. He's worked his way up onto the podium. Super effort.
Yeah, and this is kind of an interesting dynamic here because it doesn't matter in terms of the team qualifying. They're in a great spot in 2nd and 3rd, but currently, who leads the podiums? Their team.
Yep, I can hear you. Sure, come in. So 4 minutes left to go here in the seat. Sorry for the technical issues. We'll get Lewis and Luke back onto the line as soon as we can. Of course, our broadcast live on site. The team working hard to get things back up to speed. So Benito leads at the front of Phillip Island, and oh, what a fantastic track it is. Watkins Glen versus Phillip Island, always going to be an interesting choice from which to pick from, but I'll just be honest, think we chose the better option. Sarica and Umeshima, they're fighting down in 13th and 14th position, but just look at the gap. Benito and Janssen already able to break away at the front, and I think 2 drivers that we should very much expect to be at the very front of the field. Williams as well, after their blockbuster performance on Assetto Corsa Competizione on day number 1 of the competition. I have a feeling that they'll look to put aside the disappointment that was rFactor 2 yesterday and really look to try and fight at the front. Of course, with the way that the standings find themselves shaking up in this Esports Racing World Cup, they are in a bit of a difficult position, down in 7th, about 9 points back from the Unicorns of Love and Team Redline as we dive down in that final sector onto the brakes with this huge train of cars that's formed up just outside of the top 5 or so. But realistically, in terms of championship chances and expectations, it's really, I think, Team Redline, the Unicorns of Love, and then maybe BS Competition as well, thinking about inserting themselves into the mix. Tamas Shimon, the Hungarians, past Dominic Blyer, up inside at the top 4 as well. Plenty of iRacing specialists making their appearances here today in a car that I don't think a lot of them have any sort of experience with. I've had the pleasure of commentating on this car at many a track before. It is an interesting one to really see how to make the moves happen. Sometimes it's about desperation, especially down into that Honda. Right-hand hairpin, leads into Siberia, cambered in left-hand sweeper. Not going to necessarily see too many cars hanging around the outside there. Front of the field, still calm between Benito, Janssen and Muto. They know that in the case of Redline and Williams, doing enough to advance to the upper bracket. Remember, of course, 6 teams will head to the quarterfinal upper bracket. We'll see 6 teams working their way into that lower bracket. A second chance for them to work their way to the semi-finals, but 3 teams will bid farewell to this Esports Racing World Cup once we get into the 3rd race of the day, the quarterfinal lower bracket. As we string across the line, should be 2 laps left on the board for this heat, depending on the lap time that we have so far. I don't think we're going to see the likes of Diogo Pinto really thinking about any need for aggression, as the 2 Redline teammates, 7th and 8th positions, run behind Alejandro Sanchez. All of the cars somewhat content, I think, should be seeing the Apex Racing team advancing their way on through as well. Just looking at that left side of the screen, trying to pick apart those team logos. Not really too many teams looking like they are confirmed and locked in outside of the ones that we've already mentioned so far. It has settled down into a bit of a rhythm though. Don't think this is what we should expect. Of course, this is the most busy the track will really ever be. And by the time we get to the showdown, the one-on-ones, the 3v3, going to be in for a right knockout backyard brawl here down under. Always an interesting track, usually now mostly used for motorcycle racing. 2 wheels, 4 wheels, it doesn't really matter. The track really does challenge the drivers. So undulating, so flowing as well. Wrapping out of the final corner, 45 odd seconds left on the clock. So this will be the final lap of this heat race. And Enzo Benito on top in a fixed setup competition, don't forget. There's no adjustment to these cars. Carl Janssen not going to pop out for a move. Shimon behind in the Arnage competition machine did get past Sotomuto on that slide through the very fast turn 1 that slingshots you rather into that southern loop. Just adding a podium to a tally there. Arnage competition, definitely a team to watch out for here today on day number 3 of the Esports Racing World Cup. Of course, we've got David Toth, Tamas Shimon, as well as Ricardo Ferreira, all behind the wheel of those Lotus 79s. And so at the end of this race, we'll talk a little bit more about the likes of Arnage competition with Lewis and Luke on side by side. Bit of a slip up there from Sotomuto allows Dominic Blyer the opportunity. First the outside, which converts to the inside as they rise, then crest up and down the hill. The most technical section of the track, and if Muto wants to hang alongside, he can still battle side by side. Meanwhile, as this goes on for about 5th and 4th positions front of the field, it's Enzo Benito that's going to grab the victory for Team Redline. Should be good enough to see Redline advancing to the quarterfinal upper bracket. However, for Williams Esports, a statement of intent, you'd have to say, and for Arnage competition, the opportunity to really make a statement here on the simulator they likely would have earmarked as being their favorites. We'll wait for the rest of the cars to cross the line, the likes of TRITON, Apex, R8G, and maybe BS Competition looking potentially good enough to work their way over to that upper bracket as well. An interesting first race of the day here at Phillip Island with these Lotus 79 machines. Standing starts, much like we had yesterday. And here's a look at those results. It's two tenths rather, between Benito and Janssen, who were very much the class of the field. Tamas Shimon with a great move on Sotomuto into turn one on the final lap of the race sees him grab the final podium that will add to the most valuable driver standings. Redline looking good. Apex have a car up inside of the top 6, but they'll expect a little bit more, as will the likes of RHE Esports as well, as we continue to cycle our way through the rest of your results. We'll get some sort of a sense as well for the drivers and teams that will advance their way on forward. Luke McEwen in the Apex Racing Team machine in 11th on his debut. Phil Dinez, Sarika, Umashima, Michael Yanni, usually over at the Apex Racing Team, but on loan to the Unicorns of Love here today. See Burst have 2 of their drivers, 21st and 22nd. The other 2 Unicorns of Love machines, 23rd and 24th. Handful of struggles as well. We saw some dust-ups on the opening lap of this race, and so a handful of cars not making it to the very end. It includes the likes of Fordzilla, RHE and Arnage Competition. Both, I think, Florian Lebigra as well as Ricardo Ferreira will be somewhat disappointed with those results. Don't go anywhere. Our technical issues seem to be resolved. We'll be back in a few moments' time from the studio to talk about the heat for Esports Racing World Cup day number 3. Still waiting for the chance to head on over to the studio. Sorry, I thought we were going to get to bring Lewis and Luke in there, but we'll continue to persevere as we hold right now in a bit of a waiting period in this Esports Racing World Cup. I think so many of us were disappointed that unfortunately we were not able to do this on location as we wanted to. Hopefully for next year we'll get the drivers there, because we saw it with ESL R1 a handful of weeks ago. It was so great having the drivers next to each other, and in the case of Paul Crimsix, interrupting him before he even got to the checkered flag. And yes, Gamer Muscle, he was turning. You clearly should have known. It's not like the Porsche All-Star Series that we have here on iRacing every other Saturday, where we are allowed to go and interrupt the likes of James West while he is driving a variety of Porsche machinery. Instead, this is about serious business, and serious business indeed, with short races that I think lend itself to that in-person atmosphere. You get the drivers jumping in and out of the rigs, you get the oohs, the ahs, the proclamations of despair at times as well when we get those bigger drama moments. But in-person events, like just from personal experience, got the pleasure of attending 2 of them last year, both at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as well, which is quite interesting because I got to compare and contrast how Porsche and SRO both operate their events. Porsche really enjoyed what they did. They were racing on Gran Turismo. They had a very dark, it was a moody environment that they had built up. Lots of LEDs. They had a Porsche GT4 up on the stage as well, alongside with the rigs where the drivers were competing. Then SRO, on the other hand, a lot more open, a lot more airy and inviting to the public to come on in. You still had the rigs set up, a few more of them available to the public on a bit larger of a window. And of course there we had the fun of being able to have both the pro drivers race on Friday and then the sim drivers on Saturday for the SRO Esports ROG Invitational. And so, yeah, just one of those experiences that you got to be there. I met Gregor Schill. I got to stand next to him for a second. I also got to, with Porsche at the very least, try to get into a Porsche 911 Cup car. I'm 6'5" and mostly legs. It turns out it's not a great combination for actually fitting into a race car. However, I'm going to throw the... there was a real driver helping me, of course, showing me his car and encouraging me to try and get in. I'm going to throw him under the bus slightly for not telling me that I could have raised up the steering wheel, which the steering column is like, has a bit of a latch so that you can raise it to get into the car. Yeah, he didn't tell me until after I fell out of the car. Quite comically. Felt like it was in slow motion as well in some ways. Still waiting, of course, to talk with the studio. Luke and Lewis trying to get back connected and talk with us right now. Day 3 of this Esports Racing World Cup, though. Who would have thought January 31st or whatever it was when we finished up the World Cup in 2022, what a journey that we would have to get here. the spring, the summer, and the fall cup, they saw rises and falls from so many of our teams. The Apex Racing team, after a dismal spring, won the Summer Cup on points, really showcasing the adaptability and determination that this tournament is really meant to all be about. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting journey. 33 total teams that entered over the course of 2022's Esports Racing League, whittled down to the 12 finalists here in this Esports Racing World Cup. And yeah, we'll start our journey hopefully sooner rather than later to do this all over again. I think we've got Lewis McLean alongside, though, finally from the studio.
Yeah, no, we're having obviously technical issues galore. Hopefully you can actually hear me. I should be quite quiet.
I can.
Throw something together a little willy-nilly here, but yeah, I should be able to at least speak to you and keep you company for a little bit, because otherwise you've been working quite hard there, Arjuna.
I mean, I've got to, apparently. I mean,
yeah.
Let's be honest. We have
on the podcast.
We do have the easiest job in the world, Lewis, though, regardless of what broadcast we really do, because we just have to show up and talk.
Yeah, absolutely, which talking's easy peasy, realistically. I've got to say, talking about that race, Redline looked really strong in the hands of Enzo Benito, but yeah, the other two, they're inside the top 10. How much can you read into in a heat race? It's all down to qualifying, and it was such tight margins. But they find themselves leading the points. Team Redline in second. The Apex Racing team, RHG, Yazheat and Triton being those inside the top 6. So those are the ones that we'll be moving through, from what I can see, in the into the semi-final. But Yazheat looking really, really strong.
I think it's a good point that you bring up there as well, Lewis. Just to clarify for those watching, racing has not been impacted. It is just some technical issues on the broadcast. We are still here and talking you through what's been going on. And much like yesterday, we will try and hold the drivers as much as we can, but their racing does inevitably take a little bit of a priority. Lewis, let's just talk about the two choices of tracks that we had for a second here. Watkins Glen and Phillip Island. Very, very, very different tracks. Both period tracks, though, in some ways for this car. I am not disappointed we went to what I would have assumed would have been the less popular choice.
Yeah, I mean, I thought between the two of them, if I were a driver and I wanted to drive one of them, like if I were to pick one of them, I would prefer to drive Phillip Island. I think Phillip Island's got such a good flow to it. It's such a fun track. Raceability-wise, it can be a bit of a struggle. However, I will say, from what we're seeing in that heat there, my questions on that one have been quashed. I think it is going to be a pretty good racetrack in this kind of car. So I think I think they've made a very good choice. Everyone sat at home have made a great choice that picking Phillip Island over Watkins Glen. Yeah, Watkins Glen we can race another time. That's fair enough. This is something unique that we can only really race on iRacing.
It was interesting that we had the option for Watkins Glen without the chicane, which is a very different beast to Watkins with the chicane. Fixed setup across the two tracks. I think it's going to be interesting to talk to some of the drivers to see exactly how they felt about the car's balance. One thing that I don't know if you've mentioned already, Lewis, but I think it's curious to bring up is the fact that one of the drivers mentioned to you a quite salient point about we've been talking a lot about 3 different sims and 3 different cars, but maybe the difference in cars isn't as big as we've been trying to hype up.
No, I had a little bit of a chat with Jerne Simoncic, actually, between the two. I say a little chat, I mean, he sent me a blog, but bless him. Basically saying that the way these cars kind of drive, they're not actually as dissimilar as you would think. You know, you kind of like put them in very, very wildly different categories. But when the Lotus 79 is obviously an old school F1 car, so comparatively to the norm when it comes to what people think of F1 cars, it doesn't actually have that much downforce. It's got a lot of power, kicks out the rear end quite a bit. The Infiniti Q50 has pretty much no downforce that we were using yesterday, and it's rear-wheel drive, so it does kick out the rear. And the kind of the GT4 that we're using, whilst it doesn't have that much power, again, it doesn't have much downforce, and depends on the circuit that you're using. They're kind of like understeer into exit oversteer, basically, just depending on what you do on the throttle, which means they all kind of drive in a fairly similar way. It's a very big paintbrush, that one for sure. It does not mean that someone who's quick on ACC in the GT4 and the Maserati is going to be faster than a Lotus 79, but there are interesting similarities between the 3 cars.
You've already mentioned it, and I think it's probably a fair point for us to bring up right now once again. 6 teams confirmed moving through to the upper bracket. Williams Esports, Team Redline, the Apex Racing Team, RHG, Yazheat, and Triton. Now, of those 6 names, there's one, I think maybe two notables that are iRacing specialists that we would have expected to have worked their way forward to the upper bracket. Arnage competition being one, and BS competition being the other. Now, Arnage had David Toth up in 3rd position, so they definitely have shown they've got some speed. They just need some support. BS competition, though, on the other hand, not even cracking the top 10.
Yeah, they clearly have very strong issues in that race. 12th place and 28th, and then 31st between their 3 drivers. Clearly some very strong issues, but those are the kind of things that we expect in the heats. By the way, I might be quite a bit out of sync because of how the audio is working, so if my mouth is not moving at the same time as my audio, do understand, we will fix it. Luke's probably will be okay if he can come through, isn't it? Who knows?
Well, I'm not sure they can see us right now, Lewis. You're confusing them a lot.
I see. So I see. I've got a screen where we're on screen. So I was panicking there because I thought I've got a camera where we're all on screen. But who knows? Obviously, what we're seeing is not the same. So that's fair enough. I don't remember what you were saying, but I'm pretty sure you were saying something about Yaz Hate and how much more impressive they were to what the prediction was. 9th, 18th, and 33rd. Yaz is really good in a really good car as well.
Unfortunately, I don't think we can really hear Lewis McLeod, unfortunately. So we'll leave him alone for just a second, and we'll focus on what is up on your screen right now, which is some quarter-final racing. Of course, the upper bracket about to get underway. Like we mentioned, issues with our broadcast not going to necessarily impact on the race itself. We'll have to wait and see exactly if we can bring Luke back in, because I know he'll be very excited at the very least to be talking about the wonderful victory from the lovely Enzo Benito. We're into qualifying as far as I can tell, and right now solo car qualifying, so no draft assistance in these machines like maybe you would have had you would have seen if we had the group car qualifying. Let's see if we can bring Lewis McLeod back in. Lewis, qualifying here, I think very important. Moritz Lohner said short races, you need to make sure you're at the front. You've already talked about how difficult it is to pass, so get to the front, stay out of trouble.
Yeah, unfortunately sometimes I get it. The mic setup, I've really thrown it together very last minute, so I do apologise if I do cut out every now and then. But yes, the low car qualifying, very interesting to have them kind of on the track by themselves, doing their own thing, not really getting too entangled with everything. I think that's what makes this kind of very interesting. I still maintain I want to see them do just the one lap. I don't want to see multiple laps. I just want the one lap, that kind of whole drama.
So qualifying has 2 minutes and 20-ish seconds left to go. So waiting for the times to be thrown up. It's effectively going to be a pretty short qualifying session in terms of laps for these drivers, even though the times have been pretty rapid, 1:20s or so. We don't get too many laps to really work our way through the session. So as Carl Janssen goes provisionally to the top, see exactly who else is going to fight their way in this upper bracket straight through, don't forget, to the finals. 3 advance, 3 will have the opportunity to head to the semi-finals and fight with those fighting out of the lower bracket. It's a Williams 1 and 2 with Muto and Janssen currently on top. Benito, 3rd for him with Sanchez for the Apex Racing team. 4th, Andre Martins, and 5th with Thibaut Casabon. 6th before the TRITON Racing Duo, 7th and 8th. Sarika for Williams makes it all 3 of their cars inside of the top 10. Lebigra holds R8G with 2 inside of the top 10 as well. Fascinating session so far. Margins pretty tight. You've got a 10th between 1st and 2nd, about 600ths then between 2nd and 3rd, 6,000ths between 3rd and 4th. So these are drivers that they can, in a track which is definitely going to reward those that are the bravest here in qualifying, those that can push the limits just that little bit more. 444 down the hill is Diogo Pinto, the 2022 Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup champion. Gets his way gently and progressively onto the power. Luke McEwen for the Apex Racing team slides his way up to 2nd. Pinto's former teammate, now Blyer, up to 2nd. But Benito and Lullum, Redline 1 and 2. Can Pinto make it 1, 2, and 3? Doesn't seem as though he improves enough. He's 7th. Muto splits the Redline duo at the front. But my days, this is shaping up to be a fascinating quarterfinal upper bracket, with the time seeing a 1/4 of a second splitting the top 8 drivers with 15 seconds left in qualifying. Let's see if we can bring Lewis and Luke back in. Lewis will go
Oh,
Benito back on top.
Well, hello. Yeah, hopefully you can all hear us back at home. Yeah, what a thrilling end to the qualifying. There's so tight margins around here. We talked about this a little bit before we went live. The margins look incredibly close around such a tight and twisty circuit.
Yeah, Williams look like they can actually maybe hang with Redline today. The only problem is if they want to win this, they need Redline to not make the final. So they need Redline to effectively be 7 for worse, and then they need to go ahead and win this event, which is very unlikely. But you never know what can happen in sim racing.
Never know, indeed. I mean, guys, this is a track as well where I think qualifying is going to be really, really difficult, Lewis. Tires can be so difficult to manage on this car in particular as well. You've got enough time to go and do 2 laps. We saw the second lap being quicker in that particular qualifying session. I don't think that will always be the case.
I don't know. I mean, like it's such a short lap that you don't actually have too much time where you overdo the tyres. But then when you run through that little S section up through Lukey Heights and then down to the hairpin, there's a lot of places where you can really overdo, particularly the rear tyres. You can absolutely destroy them coming out of the hairpins, coming out of Siberia, coming out of the little hairpin, outside the in that final sector up through the final corner. You lean a lot on the rear of the car. In qualifying, I think it's less of a problem. In the race, we did actually see it was quite a problem towards the end of the heat there, and I think that's going to be the case for the day.
Yeah, I think we're a couple of moments away with qualifying in the books. The drivers get a short warm-up session before they go racing. Standing start versus rolling start, Luke. This is something that we've kind of gone back and forth on over the course of 2022, depending on which car we're in. Yesterday standing starts, today standing starts as well. And with so much power, I have the feeling and the sense that we are going to see some chop and changing on the run down into turn number 1.
Yeah, it's, if you master the start here, you're going to get a massive advantage with a rolling start. Effectively, everybody... It's difficult to... The difference between a bad start and a good start is very small, whereas when it's a standing start, the difference between a bad start and a good start is massive. So, yeah, if you can master the start, gain yourself a couple of positions, or if you're at the front, gain yourself some space, then ultimately you can run away and win races. Enzo did that in the first race. I tell you what, Carl Janssen, he hung back last time out. I think that if this was a bit further into the competition and he had to make an overtake, I feel like he had the pace.
I agree.
I am very interested to see that. But Muto was the quickest Williams driver, so this is going to be a fascinating day. I think we're already seeing 2 teams that are more than likely going to go all the way already.
I will just say something, and I'll see if you guys agree with this. I think Williams will slightly regret maybe not having a stronger day on rFactor 2 yesterday because they were so quick on Assetto Corsa, worked their way to the finals. I get the sense they are going to likely do the same here today. But because they are so far back in the ERWC points, Luke, it's very difficult for them to fight for that championship.
Yeah, they're relying on other results, right? So again, if they go out and win this, they don't necessarily guarantee themselves the win in the championship. They need Redline to drop down a few spots. So, yeah, it's not ideal. rFactor hasn't been kind to them. But stranger things have happened. Sim racing is the only esport where you can have a direct effect on someone else's performance via incidents, right? So, yeah, anything can happen in this, and in sim racing, it generally does.
One team that was expected to run well today was a team that has had so much success on this platform over the years. Let's take a look at the Apex Racing team's lineup. Well, one team that really had to hit the ground running and get up to speed with all these different platforms was the Apex Racing team. They used their partnership with the Unicorns of Love to get some drivers on board that really helped them, and in the Summer Cup they won, proving that their disappointing form in the Spring Cup and indeed in the Esports Racing World Cup was just a blip. We'd love to talk more about the Apex Racing team, but guys, unfortunately, it's about time that we go racing once again. The heats have already sent the teams split into 2, the upper and the lower bracket. 6 will fight now in this quarterfinal upper bracket, with 3 advancing directly to the final. Phillip Island has already had one great race. Let's not dawdle too much longer. Let's head back for race number 2 of the day.
Now it's time then for the upper bracket quarterfinal. Here's your grid. It is Enzo Benito at the sharp end with Sotomuto in second spot. On the second row, then we've got Chris Lullum and Dominic Blyer. We've then got McKeown and Carl Janssen as your top 6 drivers. Next up, there's Diogo Pinto, We've got Alejandro Sanchez, Thibaut Casabon, we've got Thomas Ronhart, and then we've got Florian Lebigre and
again from Simply Race, so I will jump back in, and hopefully my words are still going out live to you all. Lewis and Luke will be back as soon as they can, because I don't think they want to miss this quarterfinal. I certainly do not want to miss this quarterfinal. So we will push on and get ready to go racing once again. Remember, 8 minutes will be thrown up onto the clocks for what should be about an 8-lap affair. That run into turn 1 going to be crucial. And we've already seen in the heat how important it is going to be for drivers to ensure that they stay out of trouble, to back up their teammates further up in the field. It's one of those situations where it's the needs of the team above the needs of the driver, and working together, communicating with one another is going to be oh so important. Saw it earlier today on RaceSpot TV with Sebastian Joe putting himself in a bit of a precarious situation. A reverse grid race unfortunately did not go the way that he wanted. Put yourself in the right place at the right time. Let's see how this goes in this quarterfinal. The upper bracket with 3 teams going to the final. Lights will build. The engines will roar in symphony. Benito and Muto on the front row of the grid. It's Redline and Williams getting ready to do battle down under. Lockstep from row 2 on back. Bit of a crash already as a big puff of smoke. Sean Arnold lights up the rear tires and spins his car off into the wall. Muto tries to hold on to the inside line with Lollum trying to battle with him for second as they work through the southern loop. Get onto the power as tentatively as they can with tires still coming up to temperature. Muto holds second. Lollum now under fire from Blyer as they head through the left-hand sweeper that leads them into the first of 2 heavy braking zones. 2 tricky hairpins to work your way through. No major moves being made. Blyer still fighting with Lollum as they work into the Cambridge in Siberia. Blyer had the inside but backs out of it as they work their way in towards the middle sector of the lap. We ride with Chris Lollum in that 3rd position. As it stands on the left-hand side, you can see those team logos. The top 2 drivers, those that score points. Redline, Williams, Triton, and Apex looking good right now. For the likes of RHG as well as BS Competition, they've got to get their way forward, and that's what they're doing down the hill through Lukey Heights. Penultimate couple of corners on the lap here. Janssen and Sanchez will fight side by side for 7th and 8th positions, and while they brawl at the back, it's really allowing the single file at the front to stretch itself out, and they're all not jockeying too hard. 3 wide at the line though. So we've got 2 Williams cars embroiled in some fighting, almost contact with the RHG machine that backs out of it. I think that was Casabon that saw discretion being the better part of valor. It was Janssen and Sanchez, both blue and white machines that were alongside. Sanchez, the Spaniard, holds on. Janssen so quick in the first heat, but now battling and having to fight wheel to wheel. Contact with Casabon. Janssen trucks off the road and off and into the tire barrier as well. That's one of the Williams Esports drivers now having to work their way back from the pack, although somehow I think Carl Janssen was able to save that one. So Muto's next backup now is Moreno Sarica in 11th position, and he's got in front of him Lebigre and Martins, RHG as well as Yasit doing battle up towards the hill. Carl Janssen, you can see on the top pack, so an incredible job there from the Swede to bring that one back into control and keep it on the tarmac as well. Ronhar gets in front of Salva Talons. That's for 13th and 14th positions, but as we come to the end of lap number 2 with about 3 minutes done in this race, Benito leads from Lollum in a... Let's see if Lewis and Luke can take it from here.
Yeah, well, the Redline duo are looking very good at the sharp end, of course, and you got Pinto backing them up as well.
Oh.
And well, as we come straight back here, there's some contact. We've got Triton, RHG involved again, unfortunately, and yeah, it's not very pretty.
Yeah, it was Jagodzinski and Ronhar that were both sent off. I think there was a little bit of a pinch down into turn 1, and they were both sent over. It's not pretty. We've seen a couple of unpretty and unflattering sends during the quarterfinal upper bracket that we're presently watching. Enzo Benito and Lollum making it a 1-2 for Redline, as you were saying. Other teams looking strong in this. The Apex Racing team that's presently running 6th and 7th and I'm not sure which one the other team will be at the moment. Moreno Sarica in 11th and Sota Muto in 3rd, I believe, would be enough for Williams Esports to be the 3rd team.
Yeah, and they've been unlucky here because they had Janssen in a very good spot and he just got sent off the track. So they would be so annoyed if they weren't making it through to the final instantly. And they are, again, with the 14 points that they're on right now, they should be going through with a lot less than that. But it is what it is, I guess. But the one team that's not worried about that is, you like saying, Redline, Apex. They're looking pretty good here as well. Again, just go flying under the radar, and the further they get under the competition, Apex are always going to be a danger.
Yeah, especially they know how to fight the one-on-one stuff, right?
Yes.
That's the important bit, is that when it comes to all of the teams that'll be fighting in this competition, the Apex Racing team have taken it to Redline realistically more so than I feel any other team. Yes, you can probably argue that, of course, Unicorns of Love on ACC, but there's something about how Apex have taken it to them, more so on multiple platforms, more so across the competition. They really come alive.
Oh,
it's so impressive.
As much as Redline have been the dominant team across our championships, and of course they're very good at the 1v1, one team that always bring it and always go up another level from what they've done all day is Apex. So if they do manage to get themselves to a final, expect them to come all guns blazing.
Yeah, if you're also watching this and thinking, where's my team? I support Arnage, Burst, Unicorns of Love, Team Fordzilla, BS Competition, or Veloce. Where are they in this race? They will be taking part in the quarterfinal lower bracket, which will be coming up shortly after we finish the upper bracket. This is the fight for those to get through into the final, those top 3 teams making their way through. And we've been through them a few times. Don't need to go through them again. But right now, who's really the one that needs to go on the attack? Well, TRITON Racing aren't a million miles away, but after the issues of Jagodzinski, it's Mateusz Tuszkiewicz is running behind in Ostroza and Janssen down the order. Janssen doesn't need to do anything right now. What we're seeing here is the attack, I think, from Lebigra on Martans.
Yeah, he's got to go sweeping around the outside. Again, the camber favours the inside car. It's very unlikely that this move will be pulled off, although we've got a second braking zone as we come through there. The RAG overextends ever so slightly. It's still side by side between the two of them. And I tell you what, that is very neat and tidy. Move done. I didn't think that was actually a possibility there. Really nicely done. And now we've got Muto looking to move up in order here, trying to get a bit more insurance. And I'm telling you one thing now, Lulham is not really going to fight this too hard. And as you can see, he doesn't fight it. Lets Muto effectively have that position. Redline, though, they're golden to go through. Muto, for me, this weekend,
impressive.
He has impressed me so much. Really, I just think Williams as a whole, lots of new names in their team and lots of new superstars being born for me. I think we're going to see a lot more from Muto moving forward.
That was Dominic Bly having a little bit of a slip and slide before they got into Lukey Heights. They rise up and over the crest, and you can see how much pressure Diogo Pinto is applying onto the shoulders. Of course, the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup champion of last year. Was it? Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah. No, currently leading as well.
I was trying to think of what year we were actually in, and I genuinely forgot that we were in 2023 then.
Currently leading this year as well,
yes.
Remember? And I think that's one of the most, if not the most competitive grids, especially on iRacing, there is.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, he's a phenomenally talented driver. Doesn't need to be doing this, though, but he is. So, thank you.
Yeah, puts on a bit of a show, gets down the inside of Dominic Bly. Like you say, doesn't really need to get involved in it, doesn't need to risk any penalties. But I think that run into turn 1, he's confident on the brakes, he's confident on the flow through the corner, and he's pretty confident with the move there. And so Dominic Bly up into, Dominic Bly back down to 5th position as Diogo Pinto moves up. And then they will see many switches inside the top 3, dependent on what this driver in the middle does. Sota Muto, who'll be the one trying to attack. Behind, though, it is open for the fight. So Dominic Bly gets back down the inside.
Yeah, makes a lovely move there. Again, he's looking for the most valuable driver. I'm not sure how far TRITON realistically are going to be able to get today. So he needs to just try and get as many podiums as early as he possibly can, especially with someone like Benito leading a second race. But Muto, this is an interesting one here. Doesn't need to make a move. But any extra positions is added insurance. But is he thinking long-term? Is he looking at Enzo Benito going, look, if we get to a final against you, I have the ability of overtaking you. I will take that opportunity on, and giving an early message to Redline and saying, do you know what, this is not going to be an easy day for you.
Yeah. Like I say, I think for Blyer, he's desperate to get on the podium because Enzo Benito, one of the drivers who he knows is going to fight in the podium today, yeah, he's already there. How far is TRITON really going to go in this? Less distance, I think, than Redline, but still there is potential. The problem with Redline is that Benito just looks so impressive in this car, as well as Redline themselves, which means it looks like they will, speaking very early here, it looks like they're the team to go through into the finals we were expected coming into this, but then also the fact that he is the lead driver for them. We were saying yesterday about how much he loves this car, and it's not really a surprise, to be honest.
On the Muto subject, is there an opportunity here for him to send a message by trying to get into the lead of this race?
Absolutely.
Thinking long term, like, I think Williams might be going, do you know what? We think we're going to make it to that final, but before we get there, it is a clear case of we're going to let you know that we can overtake you, we can lead the race, and we can win early.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, I think for Muto to go after the attack, to go and try and grab that from Enzo Benito, just like you say, a little bit of a warning shot, a little bit of a confidence a hit towards Redline, probably less so, but a confidence
Getting
boost
him thinking about
for
something
Williams.
else. Getting him thinking about something else other than just going out there and dominating.
Absolutely.
Again, pressure does really strange things to everybody. It's as simple as that. Some people thrive, some people don't. But it just changes the variables. We head on to our final lap.
And he does. And Enzo Benito with 4/10 of a lead over Sota Muto. I think might well be able to hang on. Who's kind of looked after their tyres over the 10-minute race? I know you think, right, 10 minutes, looking after tyres? Are you serious? And like, yeah, pretty much.
Tyre heat though, more than anything. Overheat the tyres.
Particularly the rears.
You've got 10 minutes. You can't really recover them, as we see a potential move being made here by Pinto, trying to find himself an opportunity on the inside of Blyer. Blyer's going to run wide then through turn 2, and then Pinto decides, do you know what? I'm probably best backing off out of this. He looks hungry though today, doesn't he? Pinto, is there an off button for him? Probably not. He's used to racing in a Porsche Cup car where it is just side by side after side by side after side by side. So yeah, I think you're going to see some fireworks from that young man.
I think genuinely, like watching this and knowing like the issues that Jansen's had, I think Williams are really, really the challengers at the moment to Redline. Speaking of them, there is a move from Jansen getting down the inside of Salvatalen. So the Apex Racing team losing out ever so slightly there, just a position with their third car. Don't worry too much. Shouldn't affect the Apex Racing team with McEwen and Sanchez running in 6th and 7th. Should still be plenty good enough. Same as with Williams running in 2nd and 11th to join Redline, moving on in the competition.
And this is Jansen. Jansen is just showcasing his skills. He's able to come back through the pack. So yes, keep an eye out for them. Jansen, Muto and Sarika, they will be battling Redline, I'm sure of this, for the remainder of today. As we come across the line though, Enzo Benito picks up his second win of the day. It's almost a 1-2. Is it quite a 1-2? It's not going to be a 1-2. Lolum nearly gets Muto on the line, but Muto picks up second, as we see. Well, RAG almost going across the line backwards there. I would say they did. That was pretty impressive there. Lebigre is in 10th position. We'd have to see that again, but he was nearly upside down and backwards there. That is one for the highlight reel for sure, but normal service resumed. Enzo Benito winning races in iRacing.
I was going to say it was less so that it was backward, it was more so that it was nearly upside down. We can see the results here, Luke, and again, it's another special race for Enzo Benito.
It certainly is. Enzo Benito then picks up P1. Sota Muto picks up P2, and I think he could challenge Enzo today. I really think that Jansen and Muto have both been in the position to win these races, but they've just taken a step back. Lullum in 3rd, Dominic Blyer in 4th. More importantly, for Redline, their third driver's in the top 5, so all 3 in the top 5. That's really strong for them. Luke McKeown, we've got Alejandro Sanchez, Apex Racing team in 6th and 7th. If they can magically get themselves to that final, you know they're going to up their level. Thibaut Casabon in 8th, and we've got Andre Martins in 9th. Florian Lebigre then in 10th position. Moreno Sarika and Carl Jansen, the 2 Williams drivers, in 11th and 12th position. Salvatalens, they've got Angel Inostroza, Matthias Tajskovic, Thomas Ronhar, Peter Jagodinsky, and Sean Arnold as your 18 drivers. Team Redline, they look good. Williams look really good as well. And Apex, just again, as they usually do, Arjuna, just tend to get the results they need before they get to push at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Another great, fascinating race. Was in shock at the crash across the line. I think these drivers recognize that open wheel machines, you can't crash them while you're racing, so you might as well do it afterwards. I did see a comment from Alex Goldschmidt. The cars sound fantastic as well. It's a real throwback to when car noises are a lot louder, especially in Formula 1 era.
Ripping F1 to pieces
Interesting.
now.
Interesting quarter-final that we had there, guys, and of course that sets up 3 teams to go to that final, 3 teams to fight in the semi-finals for their final chance here today. But now we've got that lower bracket coming up, and it's not just the final opportunity on the day for some of these teams. Luke, is the final chance for them potentially in the Esports Racing World Cup.
Yeah, and that's of course going to throw some desperation out there because you haven't got an extra day to make up for it on a different platform. It is, if you're out at this stage, if you're the bottom 3 teams, you are done and dusted for the World Cup. thank you for coming. You're going to get your magnet thrown on the deck by me. It is what it is.
It's his favourite thing,
But
I swear.
the pressure in this race is massive. If you could get yourself in that top 3, there's going to be teams in this. I think Veloce, being our 12th seed team in today, they're well out of position. So if they can get a bit of confidence now by winning this race, I think that's the most important thing right now. Not just getting through, you have to be the best of this group to then maybe start getting a bit that confidence, the snowball effect, and then maybe thinking I can actually then challenge the other teams that have already safely got through to the final or the semi-finals. Yeah, this is a confidence race, but on the flip side, it's just get through at any means necessary.
It's funny that you mentioned Veloce Esports, because I think it's time that we talk a little bit about their journey in this Esports Racing World Cup, and let's check out their lineup for the competition. Veloce, definitely one of those teams that has been a staple of our competition. Their sister team, Yassit, has also qualified their way through as well. Lewis, how do you reflect on the journey that this team had during the Esports Racing League?
Yeah, I mean, it's been very up and down, same as what we saw with Yassit, that they are one of those teams that field 2 entries into this year, Veloce and the Yassit, their sister team. It means that throughout the Esports Racing League, of course, they've had to have 5 cars out in each team. So that's 10 drivers basically in total per season. Can be very tricky to get that. We have seen them struggle with it at various points. They've had issues with you mostly. But anyway, obviously back in the ERWC day 1, they really shot off well. They challenged on day 1. They got through to the final on day 1. They've just not quite met that lofty height that they set right from the offset.
That's the best driver, remember, as well.
Exactly.
Baldwin's gone to a Mercedes.
I was going to say me. I was never a part of Veloce.
They've got Emily Jones in the lineup here today as well. They're iRacing specialists. Here's a look at the bracket as we work our way through the course of the competition. Of course, with the upper bracket already having been complete and the lower bracket next on deck for us here on the VCO Esports channels. We'll see teams work their way then to the semi-final lower bracket. 3 out of the quarterfinal upper bracket, 3 out of the lower bracket. And then, of course, the final sets up the showdown. We are going to, by the way, guys, have to get Luke to record a voiceover of him saying the showdown, because, clearly you're the only one of the 3 that can do it.
Yeah, I'm not trying.
Could do it live, though, like on a live stream we're on right now, I guess. that might help.
I think Arjuna wants a showdown button.
Oh,
so
yes, no, I just want to hit a button right here. Yeah,
you want it for your own personal collection, Arjuna? Okay, cool, no drama.
Exactly. The only thing he's got in his personal collection.
Well, moving on swiftly, let's talk a little bit then about the sister team to Veloce Esports, why don't we? Yassit, today's lineup, Sean Arnold, Angel Inostroza, and then Andre Martins. Only one of those drivers, I'd say, really an iRacing specialist. And Sean Arnold, after making the swap over from Team Fordzilla to Yassit, learning just how difficult it can be to get these cars off the line at the start of that previous race, Lewis.
Yep, certainly so. I mean, it is not easy. But alas, still look like they've got good pace in this. We were seeing that earlier on. Sure, some of the issues that they had in that race. I think when you've had those kind of issues, if you're having them early, that's great, because you're having them early enough where they're not being knocked out yet. In this race, again, just to clarify to those watching at home, any team that's had a bad race and the run that we've just watched, they're not done. They're still able to go into the semi-finals, they're still able to attack for it once more, so don't worry too much. They've got another chance at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just waiting for qualifying to get underway for that lower bracket, by the way. So don't worry, we are not delayed on the racing, at least just yet from what we can tell. We've had 2 days of the competition done, 1 day still left to go. We've talked about this already ad nauseum, but I figure we can allow those in chat to have their say as well, Luke. This is a format that we're continually evolving based on viewer feedback, based on team and driver feedback as well. One thing that we've kind of talked about is adding some more simulators in. One thing that you've said in particular as well is adding some consoles in. I think something that really lends itself to that live environment.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to have 5 platforms, right, where you still have 5 drivers, but effectively you can only afford to have 1 specialist on each platform. I think that would be really cool for storylines. But I guess to be fair, teams like Veloce and Yassi, they would be great because they've got like 4 million drivers on their books, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to represent me. No, probably not.
Do you not?
No, they're not going to represent me, are they? No, that's a shame. Oh,
That is a shame.
Let me move on.
You'd look great.
But that would be pretty cool, though, wouldn't it? Xbox, PlayStation, PC, all represented. You've got 5 drivers on 5 different games, for instance. You know, do we have to stick with the same 3 titles we've got right now? Probably not. There's new titles coming into the scene. Rennsport, not quite ready for this, I wouldn't say. But, you know, what's this landscape of sim racing going to be like in 2 years' time? You know, Ian Bell's coming out with a that's probably best not to talk about either.
That's fine. We'll move on from that. We'll move on.
What is the landscape going to turn out to be in 24 months' time? We don't know.
What about, I mean, you said about these future platforms in sim racing. We've already started speaking about like throwback liveries and stuff for some sim race teams that we're having 10 years' time. What about classic sims? Why can't we go on to like some of the older sims that
Toka 3?
Why not? Well, maybe not even that far because I don't know how well that would work online. But even
that's the only the drawback, isn't it? It's whether it works online, whether you can get a LAN, whether you can broadcast it.
I mean, I know you can with rFactor 1. LFS you definitely can because I know I've seen people racing on them. Whether you want to or not. But like those kinds of things, like just trying those things every now and then. Literally, there's a few people in chat that are like, he said LFS. Oh my god, let's race it. Let's do it. Let's do it tomorrow. Like no.
Renee Butler's never been so aroused.
Well,
oh, goodness.
The thing is, our community may be able to find ways that we can go racing on some of those older platforms as well. So I'm never say never. I like that idea of going racing on classic titles, but with classic liveries as well. Hopefully, later on, after maybe the semi-finals, we'll get the chance to talk to another guest. On day 1, it was a mystery guest that turned out to be Pablo Castro announcing the Golden Toast Grand Prix yesterday. The boys had a chat with Moritz Lohner, and today we're going to be joined by the man out of the shed himself. Multiple-time VCO Simi Award winner Jimmy Broadbent should be joining our broadcast later. What was that, Lewis? Sorry?
I said I've got 2 of those.
You do have 2 of those. Jimmy's got a few more, unfortunately, so you can't really show off the number of Sim Awards that you've got relative to a man that, Lewis, is now trying to do something different for sim racing through Team 87. He's got the opportunity to jump from virtual to reality, and he wants to help other sim racers do the same.
Yeah, which I think is great. There have been projects before in sim racing where some teams have tried. I spoke about a few of these, and some of them are very, very impressive. Where they've tried getting some drivers into real world. A lot of those have been successful, and so I really like the fact that Jimmy's also trying it with a slightly different aspect, a bit more. I like that there's more opportunities for people to get that time to jump into a real car potentially and maybe make the journey for themselves.
Well, I don't know enough about it, to be honest, so hopefully we can hear from him.
I don't even know who Jimmy Broadbent is.
Yeah, so I don't know, is it helping them, or is it them providing a car and team and then someone pays for that? I don't know.
So this is why Jimmy has brought the Praga that he won his championship in, Luke, is he's going to help sim racers come and drive with him potentially in the real world. Looking forward to that. I'm going to step aside and watch a race, hopefully. It's time to go racing in the lower brackets.
Certainly is, as we're on the grid and we're ready to go racing as we'll get ready to go down towards turn 1. BS Competition are on pole position alongside Burst and a couple of Arnage competitions. Already one of the Bursts in the background has gone for a gap which certainly wasn't there as they race their way down towards the first corner. I think it might be Davin Marocek who's starting alongside in that front row, but BS Competition holding the whole shot through the first corner up towards turn 2. Arnage competition behind, a bit of a squeeze with one of the Unicorns of Love in the background, just going wide at turn 2, pushing out one of the Veloces.
I have no idea how they both survived that. They were inside each other for a little bit by the looks of things, but we have that big gap between the 2 wheels. Just kind of let them get away with that. We've still got racing happening here for P2 as Burst. Oh no, off we go. I tell you what, just about managed to save that. A couple of cars have preemptively checked up there, but they didn't need to, and ultimately caused a bit of a pile up behind. Yeah, that was nearly curtains there for Burst.
There certainly was an incident in the background. Not sure who was involved in that. Big kick of oversteer from Unicorns of Love departing Siberia. You can see one of their teammates a bit further down the order. There is Veloce running outside of, I believe, the top 14. As we can see, behind a couple of the Team Fordzillas who are not running in strong positions.
Do you reckon Jimmy can help me get into a Praga? No.
Why not?
Imagine, I'd look like Donkey Kong in that Praga.
Why not? I think it'd be hilarious. I'd watch it.
They'd have to take the lid off. It'd be an open wheel Praga.
A convertible
open wheel.
Praga.
Sorry. Yeah, convertible Praga.
You can make it open wheel as well. Get rid of some of the bodywork. Easy peasy.
Loads of opportunities. We just get the hacksaw out.
Well, you can see the order. It was Umashima. I thought it was Davin Roche. I don't even know why. But Kazuki Umashima makes a lot more sense running up in 3rd position. Simon and Toth either side of him. Phil Dinez, of course, being the BS competition at the front of the field with Bastian Richter in 5th. And you're absolutely right. There is no help. Rainer Talva, 16th place. Ibrahim Khan in the pit lane. And for BS competition, despite having arguably one of the faster drivers here today, doesn't have the team to back it up, unfortunately.
It certainly does. It's looking really good then for Arnage. So yeah, we're pretty happy with that. What about Burst? Burst are on 17 points. I think, actually, in all fairness, does that put BS still through?
BS would be
by
joining
1
on
point.
BS competition.
Well, Talva's just dropped down, actually. So he's now P16.
Veloce would be on
points.
16, and Unicorns of Love would be on 12.
Yeah, so this is crazy. This is like one position is going to make a huge difference here. Veloce looking like they might be able to drag themselves through. Home soil for Emily Jones as well, so expect anything.
Crikey.
She is, for me, on iRacing, probably the quickest content creator bar Casey Kerwin. Like, she is unbelievably talented.
See, part of me still doesn't want to count Casey Kerwin as a content creator, because it's like you're too fast, mate. You're too fast.
Oh, he'll probably put a tweet out now saying, oh, I've called him a content creator. And
yeah. He's, I mean, I watch his content. I watch his Coke series.
I love Casey. Good lad.
He is a good lad. Not taking part in this, though, so disappointing. He should have been on the list.
Except, need to get them in.
Should have been on the list. Should have been on the list yesterday, we were saying about. We'll see Dinez then at the front. Couple of switches in there as the Veloce, the second Veloce of Whitehead, drops down a position behind Poulain. That is big. That's the position you're kind of talking about. So they are now on 17 points. Who else is on 17 points? Well, now BS Competition are actually 16. On 16 with 1st and 15th. Who else is on those kind of challenging points? Of course, we were saying at the moment it's Arnage with 6 and
16.
Unicorns of Love are on 12, Burst are on 16, and then, of course, BS Competition are on 16. So they're joint on points. It would be BS Competition at the moment.
Yeah, spot on. Of course, BS leading on countback. It would indeed go to them unless there's a penalty point added. Penalty points would be the first port of call in terms of a tiebreak, but right now it is position. So Dinez leading this race. It's, BS Competition again started to spring surprises. This happened yesterday. And look what happened. They managed to get themselves to a final. And is there a possibility of that happening today? I think it's going to be a bit more of a stretch, but first step being taken as it stands. Yeah,
you never really know with those groupings. You know, they've got a strong team here. I know it doesn't really look like it. Phil Dinez obviously leading the way. Rainer Talva, who's plenty fast enough for this year, and Ibrahim Khan, who was a little bit slower than we expected yesterday, but still put on some amazing attempts in the previous race. Here's Whitehead looking to pick up that position that he just lost on Poulain to move them onto 16 points as well. So at the moment, as we'll see the move potentially complete around the outside of the first corner, that is unbelievably risky as he's going to try and do it. He's not fully alongside on the exit. He is down the inside of the turn 2. A super move from Whitehead to push them to be the 3rd team joint on 16 points. Incredible stuff.
Take a bow. That is absolutely delightful, and it's a move that has to happen. Again, they have to make as many positions up as possible. High pressure scenario. Yep, Whitehead delivering. Jones is not far behind Richter either, so maybe an opportunity to get themselves a top 5. But as it stands now, I think that with 16 points for Veloce, good. Oh no, they're not good, are they? It still would be BS, right?
It would still be BS because of them leading. Now, that's where I was yesterday. Michael Yanni behind the wheel. He's a good lad, actually.
Oh, you went to Apex, did you?
Did I? I actually did. I went all the way there. It's very casual. But still, had a good chat with the lads. And he's the lone Apex Racing Team driver that's kind of switched positions in this combination.
That is some volume to the hair mode, by the way. Don't worry about the technical stuff about sim racing. That is some volume on the hair.
Nice. Is that what you look at? You're just staring at. I mean,
always looking for a potential man crush.
No, yeah, but there's already one man crush that you've got, and he's covered up at the moment on the whiteboard over there, and it's obviously Enzo Benito.
Leave Florian alone. He's busy.
Oh no, I wasn't saying that. Fair enough. Fair enough, he's a good-looking man as well. We won't talk about that too much. As we're paid to say that's fine. Simon closing in on the race leader. Phil Dinez under a bit of pressure at the moment. Arnage competition just closing in, looking very strong in this, as once again Poulain and Whitehead switch positions in that battle for 10.
Talva's gained up to 14.
Right.
That's now 15 points for them. It's still 17 points now for Veloce. Right now, what is it? Arnage, BS are looking good. And Unicorns of Love.
Arnage, BS, and Unicorns of Love.
Yeah,
Unicorns of Love are just running consistently.
Oh no, sorry, they're not 16 at all. They're on 12. Yeah.
12, yeah. They're in a really good spot, Unicorns of Love. They're looking strong at the moment, which is great for us because I really like the livery.
And I get to move them up on the board as well because they're still right at the bottom.
They are still right at the bottom because they've not proved themselves on this platform.
I did say I was going to move people today.
I agree. And they are proving themselves at the moment in this race, running at 5th, 7th and 9th at the moment. Obviously with Phil Denez leading the race and then teammate René Talvar moving up a couple of positions inside to 14th position at the moment. Realistically, Phil Denez cannot lose the race lead. It's really, really important. Tamash Simon, thankfully, the car behind, does not need to fight for the race lead, but still would you?
Yeah, but I don't think this is a case of, if we're going to face off against these later on in this championship in the final, I don't think there's really going to be any belief that they're going to make a final here. So, yeah, mind games aren't going to be as strong. It's just get yourself to the next stage. They don't have the luxury of Williams and Redline. As we see a little over and under, that's a lovely bit of driving. I'm not too sure exactly who we're looking at here. We're looking at Luke Whitehead again. So he's trying to make a move on Josh Poulain. And Poulain holding firm. You can see that Whitehead has been pushing the rears there, just starting to struggle ever so slightly. And then in behind them, they've got Juan Manuel Gomez. Can a position gain for Juan Manuel Gomez make a difference? Not really, unfortunately. Whitehead again trying to find the Lang around the outside, not quite going to work out. We head a little bit further up. We've got Emily Jones. Now, Emily Jones has an opportunity here. There's two drivers directly in front. Emily has to overtake both now to drag Veloce through. Can this happen? 2 minutes, 20 seconds to go. Plenty of time. She's got so much iRacing experience. So if there's anyone that might have saved their tyres for this latter stage of the race, it will be her. Opportunity knocks. Can she take it?
Yeah, unless there is also an incident. I don't believe BS Competition will be able to gain any further points. There is Emily Jones at the moment. With 2 minutes left to go on the clock, there is absolute potential for Veloce to move through. They know, realistically, even now, we know that that BS Competition will not score more than 15 points. Veloce are on 17 at the moment. If Whitehead moves through one position and then we can see Emily Jones moving up the 2, there is the position for Whitehead up into 10th. So they're now on 16. We need, if you want to see Veloce moving through, we need to see Emily Jones get past Bastian Richter, get past David Toth. I don't know, I just don't see it. I just don't know where that opportunity is.
Look, leave my barmate alone. Emily Jones can do this.
Yeah.
So here is a couple of positions that could be gained. And
I thought you said barmaid then.
The barmate.
Yeah.
Barmate. Have the beers with me in Poland, which is great. But yeah, two positions are in the offering here. The Arnage car starting to struggle. They're definitely checking the field up here. The Unicorns of Love won't fight this either. They don't need to. And I guess neither do Arnage. So I think that might be the defining factor. Emily Jones has to push here, has to try and make something happen. I'm not too sure the two cars in front are going to be too worried about it and fight this. So, yeah, an opportunity here. And ironically, the team that are at most risk right now are the team that are leading this race, BS Competition.
Yeah, like you say, with
nothing they can do about it either.
Exactly. Ibrahim Khan being in the pits and effectively out of the race. Down in 18th, cannot assist at all. Reina Talvar is the one in 14th, but with a decent gap up to those ahead, 3.4 seconds to Michi Hoyer. There's not going to be any opportunity. Phil Denez can't obviously gain anything, is leading the race. So, like I say, BS Competition, they're the ones that are effectively under pressure because they cannot gain any more points. Meanwhile, the likes of Veloce absolutely can. There is plenty on the table as once again, Whitehead and Poulain switch. And again, they're separated by realistically less than a tenth. Obviously, Juan Manuel Gomez has also joined that fight and has made it a three-way fight for the final spot inside the top 10. This is back with our race leader Phil Denez, Tamash Simon and Kazuki Yumashima behind.
Yeah, they swapped positions again, by the way, Poulain and Whitehead, twice while you were talking there. So those two have had an absolute ding-dong. And again, we want to win money in this sim racing, or these drivers. I'm putting myself in the line here of wanting to win money. I'm nowhere near good enough here. As we again look on board with Luke Whitehead, he is fighting for Veloce's life here. He's given everything. You can't really knock him in terms of applying himself because he has thrown everything, including the kitchen sink at this.
Talvar's lost a spot.
Oh, Talvar has lost a spot here. So now they're down to 16 points. As it stands, it's 17 points then for Veloce. He needs to gain one position here. So does Emily Jones. If they both gain one, then that would actually knock BS out.
Yeah, first obviously on 16, big kicks of oversteer as we head through the final corner. It's going to be a win for Phil Denez. It's going to be second for Tamash Simon and Kazuki Yumashima behind in that top 3 battle. Denez for BS Competition. I believe at the moment it is enough for them. Arnage Competition and Unicorns of Love will definitely be heading through to the semi-finals to join R8G, Triton and Yaz Heat. But who is going to be that extra team? I think we might have a 3-way tie. It could come down to penalty points if any of them have them at the moment. but I believe it might have been BS Competition.
Yeah, it was a really clean race, wasn't it? So I'm not sure whether we're going to have too many penalty points. It's going to come down to count back in terms of position. But here are your official results.
Yep, Vildanez taking a well-deserved victory for BS Competition. Just 2/10 clear of Tamash Shimon, Kazuki Yumashima behind. David Toth and Bastian Richter rounding out the top 5 with Emily Jones, Michael Yanni, Ricardo Ferreira, Nicola Huben, and of course Josh Poulain in there. Arnage Competition and Unicorns of Love being those 2 teams that we're absolutely sure will be moving on to the semi-finals. Vildanez waiting for his teammate down in 14th, so it's 15 points for BS Competition. That realistically should be enough. Luke Whitehead being kicked outside of the top 10 in that long battle with Josh Poulain, managing to keep behind Juan Manuel Gomez. Michi Hoyer dropped back late on in that race, 'cause I'm pretty sure. No, he was he was ahead of Rainer Talvar. Never mind, he was still in 13th pretty much all the way through the race. Rainer Talvar in 14th, Isaac Gillison, Pejepev, Jane Simicic, and a retirement for Ibrahim Dot. Obviously, it's Ibrahim Khan. That's fine.
Kanye.
Just
Ibrahim.
It's just Ibrahim. Well, you can call him Kanye if you want. His second name is Khan.
It said Ibrahim.
Yeah, but we can make the joke. It's fine. We'll just make it up as we go along. Hi, Arjuna. Please save us.
Hello, guys. Just waiting for race control to tot up the numbers there, and so we can get like the official confirmation who's working their way through and who we say goodbye to out of that lower bracket. Another interesting race, though, Luke, and I'm enjoying this combo, the Lotus 79 at Phillip Island.
Yeah, certainly am. I'll tell you what, I've got to give a shout out to Emily Jones and to Luke Whitehead. They threw everything at it. I'm not sure it's quite going to be enough, unfortunately, but they did. They gave everything, and that's what you want from this, right? You don't want to get to tomorrow and go, damn, I could have given a little bit more. You know, I just didn't give everything and leave anything out there. Of course, there wasn't any contact or any big collisions, so it wasn't like people were sending it willy-nilly, but ultimately they did give everything. It might not be enough, but it made it an interesting race.
Yep.
From your perspective, Lewis, as we move our way forward out of this race, we've seen already twice in the ERWC this year the chance for teams to fight their way out and be able to work their way to the final and show some great pace. Out of the 6 that we just saw, who do you expect to really be able to put up a fight moving forward?
What of the 6 we just saw in the quarterfinal lower bracket?
Yep, exactly.
Well, as 3 of them aren't moving on, we can rule those out immediately.
You know what I meant. Yes, there we go.
Well, the 3 that we're moving through is what I can see on my screen. Arnage, Burst, Unicorns.
Is it green?
I think it has gone green.
It is green. It is.
He's well happy.
Who are we getting rid of?
Veloce.
Let's go from the bottom.
Okay, sorry.
Let's give teams respect who've gone a little bit higher.
Oh, sorry. Fordzilla. Goodness me.
Fordzilla, off we go.
It's only because you've got to pull him out from under Arnage Competition.
See you later.
Bye. They're done with the ERWC II BS Competition.
BS Competition.
Top right, mate. You can see them as a big.
No, that's really going to annoy Florian, so we're aiming for Florian.
Fuming over there. Goodness.
There he is.
And then Veloce. Bye.
Veloce, again, probably the best Frisbee-shaped logo. See you later.
You can move Unicorns Love up a bit as well,
Yeah,
mate.
definitely. They can go up a little bit.
They've done very well. So with the same with our Arnage Competition, they're all actually very close. Of those to move through, our Arnage Competition looked really, really impressive. But I've got to say, Unicorns of Love, again, more so. It's just the fact that they've got so much better on this platform. Whether they're going to be able to challenge further on in the competition, I don't know. But hey, there might even be a final up for grabs for them.
Unicorns of Love, of course, know that they have to beat Team Redline to be crowned champions of this Esports Racing World Cup, but still a long way to go. So now semi-finals, finals, showdowns, that's what we've got left in store for you. One team that is unfortunately already out of the Esports Racing World Cup, but showed plenty of potential, including some interesting paint schemes last year in the World Cup. We'll work our way through the final team that we haven't talked about. Let's look at the lineup for Team Fordzilla. Of course, best paint scheme of the entire last 14 months or so is the white Holden with a Ford logo on the side.
Perfect.
But apart from that, Lewis, it's a team that we've honestly seen be pretty strong across all the platforms. That's definitely something Fordzilla has been known for. However, with the big shift that they've had in the last couple of weeks with drivers leaving them, not maybe coming into this event on full form, and so I don't think we really saw the best of Fordzilla in this World Cup.
No, but I couldn't agree more with what Luke was saying earlier. Huge respect, huge kudos. Despite all the hits that they've had recently with a lot of the driver losses over to Veloce, etc., and elsewhere in sim racing, they still showed up. They still brought a driver out. They are still here to compete, and they've still put on some decent racing. They've still put on a show. They've still had liveries in all of the cars. They've still approached this as the professional team that we
Lopez
expect.
is the worst driver in the world ever. You'll get a kick out of that. Money.
Nice.
Yeah, we go Project Cars 2 days. We had a massive argument. But yeah.
Did you used to race
He's a
Project
good
Cars
lad.
too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice. Did you play Call of Duty as well?
Oh, I did.
Of course he does. But no, I mean, like, again, huge respect to them. Curious to see what's next for them. How they're going to proceed in the world of sim racing, etc. Obviously, that's something which you can keep an eye on for the next few months. But I mean, again, huge kudos to them. Shame to say goodbye to them so early in the competition.
Let's say also, like, they've made it to the final 12 of this. This is not like we've had 12 teams and they're the worst team out of everybody. They actually qualified for this final,
Absolutely.
like Arjuna said earlier, within more than 30 different teams. So just to get this far is a bloody good accolade. So yeah, fair play.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised, of course, maybe not so surprised with the lineup. iRacing definitely a platform I would have expected them to be a little bit stronger, but they finished 12th of 12 teams today. Now, I think we're ready to go to the next segment. And I say I think we're ready because we've had some technical issues, so maybe not.
Ooh,
but let's head over to
fun.
what happened next. Yesterday we played a few games, and once again we're going to do the same. We're going to throw Lewis and Luke on the spot. We're going to have 5 different scenes from the Esports Racing World Cup #1, and you guys are going to have to guess what happens next.
I can't remember what happened yesterday,
No,
to be honest.
me neither.
You get a
Top world
You'll get a
happened.
brief glimpse.
Can they not be from ERWC II? Last 2 days?
No, you wish. That would have been too easy.
Right. Well, fair enough then.
Well, maybe it could have been from the racing that we missed. That would have made it a lot harder. That would have been for sure. Let's go to #1 then in what happened next. And let's see if you guys can figure this one out.
Okay. Do we get who guessed first? Me or you?
You crack on, mate.
Okay, because I lost yesterday. Fair enough. I am going to say the white and red car, which I think is a terribly liveried core, if I remember correctly. It's going to go straight on here, and it's going to hit the barrier on the what comes out on the right-hand side after the S's, and it's going to collect the BS competition, bouncing back onto the racing line.
It ends up upside down.
Upside down. Good guess.
Let's roll a clip.
Oh no, it's just BS competition. See ya.
It's just
no,
the
no,
BS
no,
competition.
There is an upside down.
There
car
was
here,
more-
surely.
There was no upside down.
No!
car in there.
There was no upside down car.
Hopefully
There
the
was no
community gets that
upside
one
down
right.
car.
I hope you're all playing back at home as well.
Like, hold on. So
I
this is how like specific it is. Just a spin. There's been plenty of spins in this.
Well,
Arjuna.
but you just put flip. I was trying to describe the instant. You need to
Yes,
be a bit
I
more
mean,
no, I'm
artistic.
sticking up for you here, both of
Okay.
us. I'm like a union
We're-
rep at this point.
We-
We're
we-
trying to figure out when there was a spin.
Where were you protecting us yesterday when
Oh,
it
the
was
car turned
such
right.
rubbish? Anyway,
The point will go to whoever can describe it best. In that case,
Oh,
neither of you described
Yes,
it at
yes,
all.
okay, good.
So it's a 0-0. The chat gets the point. I think that's the way it's going to
Okay.
go. We'll go over to #2, and from here I'll make it slightly easier. I'll tell you which car we're going to focus on, and I'll remind you of which platform that we're going to go to as well.
That
So
we don't
now
need,
we're going to
we can
go
figure it out.
to Balish Esports, everyone's favorite team, on Assetto Corsa
Great pilot.
Competizione. Let's take a look at this clip.
They drive straight
they
back
just
in front
drive
of
straight
everybody.
back
and
on,
then
don't they?
outfield.
I remember this.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely sure the throttle gets planted.
Yeah. See you later.
Let's
and then
roll it.
Collects everyone.
Oh, it doesn't.
No. Now they're the reverse.
Oh no. It's funny to look back on.
I
in
said
hindsight.
pile up before we even see the clip.
To be fair, I think that's a point. That is a point to you. I'll give you that one. You did call pile up just from the name Ballas.
I think we'll give you both the point there, because I think you both were on the same page.
That's
So
terrible.
one,
So funny.
we'll get one.
What's the next
one
one,
point
Simsa?
apiece. We've got 3 more. No, not Simsa up
Okay.
next. This one is R8G trying to pass the Unicorns of Love car. I don't know what platform this is on, but let's go and take a look.
That's ACC.
ACC.
Okay, I get the feeling the R8G goes to the inside and hits the curb and spins. That's what I'm going to go with.
Specific.
Okay, so I think it shoots off to the left. It doesn't quite make the jump. It just goes straight across the grass because they get unsighted with their braking zone.
Ooh.
All right, let's roll it.
He hit the curb.
I think Lewis gets that point.
Yeah, I guess,
Very good. I'm doing better than yesterday.
To be fair,
He
neither
is.
of us are anywhere near.
He hit the curb.
You can have it, though. You can have it.
absolutely
Yeah, you hit the
hit
curb.
No, he did hit the curb.
Yeah.
He did hit the curb.
He hit
that is
the
hitting
curb.
apex,
He didn't spin,
technically.
though. He didn't spin. So, you know, it's the round. I'll take it off.
So
Is it just
So
Bathurst
2-1
and
to-
ACC we're doing, is it?
apparently,
Right, okay.
I'm just going off. I'm just going off what I've been given.
Let me just get a broadcast.
4
up
out
from
of
that
5. So we got 2 more to go. The next one is on iRacing, and we're going to take a look at a certain
Netcode.
somebody on
Oh.
the track, and you're going to tell us what continues to happen after this.
This is rFactor 2 for starters.
I got told iRacing,
Well,
to be clear.
that's rFactor 2.
Certainly not Barney.
That's rFactor 2.
Barry.
Barry the flag
Barry
man.
the flag puffer.
I can't. What happened? What coming up towards the checkered flag? Oh, I'm going to assume someone flips massively up into the air, but I don't remember.
Fire!
I
Lots
don't
of
remember.
fire.
No. What does that particular individual on screen do after this?
Continue waving the flag?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes,
couldn't-
that is it. Roll the clip.
That's terrible.
This is the worst game ever.
That's terrible.
I thought the Sim Racing Expo game show I did was the worst game show ever, but this is definitely up there.
I know. I'm trying.
I'm
This
blaming
one,
our-
I think.
I'm blaming
Am
our
I
team
winning
for
now, or are we tied? Or to be
We
fair, I
would
think
be
everyone's
tied.
losing.
Well, I think-
Even the
I
audience
think-
right now,
I-
they're just like, "What is this?"
One person in particular is going to be losing on this next one. I'm not going to even set it up. We all know what it is because we talk about it way too frequently.
Oh well,
Roll the
Mitchy
clip.
Tauscher. Mitchy Tauscher. I mean,
Hold on, let
whoever
me do the commentary. Let me do the inside.
Okay.
Oh, Mum, Dad, come here. I'm winning. Mum, Dad, come here. I'm winning. Look, flashing the lights. You watch this. I'm going to do
Roll
some
it.
real sassy stuff. Here we go. Round the final corner. Look at this. I'm going to squiggle out. Oh, no. Oh, what have I done? No, Mum. No, Dad. Oh, no.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh,
But goes on to
dear.
win the next race and wins the whole thing.
Yeah, so
fair
you know,
play.
I mean, I did say
Never
Mitchy
invite
Tauscher.
his parents into his room ever again.
No, no. Poor guy.
Do I get a point for that?
Poor guy,
I
especially
think you
now
get
that
a
we've
point for the
really thrown him
commentary.
under the bus.
For sure,
Yes.
you get the
No,
point.
no,
for the
no.
I win.
commentary.
Luke wins the game just for the commentary.
I did say Mitchy Tauscher first, just saying, by the way. That's fine. I'll give the point.
I feel so sorry for people watching at home right now.
I feel like what we're going to do is for the next time on the Esports Racing League, the first time that we're back, we're going to actually do these games and we're going to make them better. We'll make sure that we do that. I think, though, we're ready to step aside for a quick chat, and I'll let Lewis and Luke talk their way through with the multiple-time VCO Simi Award winner, Jimmy Broadbent.
You're going to be behind us.
I think he might be. We're not sure. Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
there he is. Oh, it's Arjuna.
apparently
So
I'm
Arjuna
talking.
talking to him. My goodness.
I'm talking with Jimmy. Well, Jimmy, unfortunately,
Hey,
you get
some
to talk
French,
to
by the
me,
way.
not to those two gents at Simply Race. How are you doing today, Jimmy? Great to see you once
I
again.
can't hear Arjuna, by the way.
Well, he can't
Oh,
hear.
now
Well,
he can't hear
Okay,
me.
Arjuna, if you could just move your lips while we talk, it'll be perfect. It'll be fine.
Right. Talk to us about your about this project that you've got coming up. Just talk to us about how it's happening. What's going on?
No, I assume you guys mean Team 87.
You certainly do.
Well, basically, in short terms, it's man puts other people in race car, or tries to anyway. But obviously, as a sim racer, one of my big influences in being a sim racer is real life racing and how awesome it is and how I wanted to do it when I was a kid, and I couldn't do it because money, blah 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 blah. And now that I'm in a position where I can go racing, I feel like it's only fair as someone who's been a constant drain on the sim racing community for the last 6-7 years
you talking
to
about,
actually
Lewis?
help others try and get into the same place I've managed to get there. So it's a bit of a long process. We're going to be announcing the competition fairly soon over on our platform SGP. But until then, not much else to say. But yeah, it's exciting. It's just a lot of work, and I really wish I didn't start doing it because it's taken so much of my time. But it's worth it.
Obviously, you've taken a step into the real world and had a very successful season. We've been talking to Gordy all weekend. He hasn't shut up about it, actually. But yeah,
I'll pay you.
credit where credit's due. You've both done an exceptional job there in that championship. Let's talk about sim racing. What's your plans for sim racing? Is there anything potentially new this year you're going to be involved in, or is it just a continuation of doing the endurance races and stuff like that?
I mean, I tend to find like that a lot of races I get involved in end up in some sort of meme, like the one I did last night, where I took myself out of a Sebring race by looking at chat, which was great.
Is Bold okay, by the way?
But yeah, I'd love to do a bit more organised sort of endurance racing. I used to do a lot of that back in rFactor 2 back in the day. I used to do a bit with in iRacing as well, but I sort of just got lazy, honestly. I got a bit too lazy doing these long races, take a lot of effort. So I need to try and get back into that. Also, Richard Burns Rally, which should be part of this competition, but it's not. Very sad.
That kind of actually ruins the next question I was going to have for you, basically. But I'm still going to carry on with it anyway. Obviously, you're a man of many platforms in the world of sim racing. Yep, ruining things left, right, and centre is fine. What kind of, knowing that this is a multi-platform competition, if you couldn't pick Richard Burns Rally, so we'll exclude that one from it, what kind of platform would you look to add to it? If we could go to like old school platforms, try something different, throw something into it, what would you kind of do? I'd
love to see like a NR 2003. Or something like that. That'd be amazing because that game is still a ton of fun to play today. Maybe not quite, doesn't quite have the functionality to do what you want to do with it in terms of massive esport competition. But if it did work, it would be a lot of fun to watch. Either that or GPL, something proper old school.
GPL would be sick.
If you could pick any 5 drivers to be your team, Team 87 comes into the ERL or the ERWC. Which 5 drivers? And it could be, anyone from the real world. It could be anyone from sim racing. Who would be your 5?
Well, I'll take Gordy first, otherwise he'll be upset if I don't pick him. Gordy, of course. Bailey, if he actually did some driving anymore, which he doesn't do any. I feel like I wouldn't drive because that would be a hindrance to our team if I drove. But I think maybe I'll just go and pick through the current top Redline lineup and just nick those guys and have it done that way. But I guess that's who. I don't know. I haven't really got a preparation for this question.
Yeah, I mean, we did throw him a little bit under the bus.
We've done it all weekend, to be honest.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean, to be fair, you were pretty quick. Even when we did some super touring racing, earlier on last year. When are we doing that again? When are we doing some super touring? I want to be off a track.
Yeah, AMS. There you go. AMS, the original AMS for EWC. Why not? But I've got a bit of reputation that they don't like me racing over there. Bit elbows out in the super.
Bit naughty. Yeah.
I'd love to see eSport drivers try Super Tourers because it'd be just savage.
Yeah, it's kind of one of my favourite categories to go racing in general.
And the Lagoon is my favourite car of all time.
Yeah, I also I've got it paid up as a police car. I mean, what kind of car would you want to race in something like this? If you could jump into any car, any platform, what would be your combo?
Well, I do like the historic stuff. So, we did some racing recently in sort of old school LM GTPs, LM P900s, all those cars. Sort of like the late 90s, early 2000s Le Mans cars. Or just stuff in Group C. I love the 962 and the Assetto Corsa. I love being able to slide that around. Of course, it's the GTP in iRacing as well. Basically, anything with a massive turbo that is trying to kill you at every corner, I've got a lot of time for.
well, obviously you're a busy man. You've got a busy schedule. We'll let you get on with life, to be honest.
So busy. That's why I'm here on Sunday night.
So busy. Sorry, you can switch. Well, yeah, you travelled up to Milton Keynes and you can join the commentary desk. It'll be fine.
Have a good night, mate.
See you in a bit.
See you guys.
Now we'll turn down the broadcast a little bit because we bring our Junior back into it. Sorry, lads.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to follow Jimmy Broadbent either. In terms of the tournament, let's take a quick look at the graphic, the bracket, and the way it's playing out. Teams in the semi-final, all of that. Lewis, talk us through it.
Yeah, certainly so. Team Redline, Apex Racing Team and Williams already moving their way through into the final. We've already seen them go all the way through. We'll see the semi-final coming up in a moment. R8G, Triton, Yazheat, Arnage, Unicorns of Love and Burst all going toe-to-toe. And of course, we've already said goodbye to Veloce, BS Competition and Team Fordzilla. We'll head to the grid because I think racing's about to start.
The semi-final. On pole position is Tamas Simon for Arnage competition. We've got Dominic Blyer for Triton Racing. A chance for him to not have Enzo Benito take away a podium. So a big chance for him today. Thibaut Catabon is in third for RAG. Andre Martins for Yazheat in fourth. We've then got Kazuki Umeshima in fifth position for Burst Esports. RAG Florian Lebigre is in sixth spot. Then we've got Thomas Ronhar in seventh. We've then got David Toth in eighth position. Bastian Richter and Peter Jagodinski. Indeed, the next two drivers, we've got Ricardo Ferreira, Michael Yanni, we've then got Nicholas Huben, Michi Hoyer, Matthias Tajskovic, and Jerne Simoncic as your 18 drivers. So we're about to head onto the grid here, and well, we're going to say goodbye to three more teams here. Lewis, And in terms of what the grid looks like, rHG are actually in a pretty good position.
Yeah, rHG, I mean, pole positions burst. Unicorns of Love, they looked really good, of course, in the lower bracket in the semi-final. Not looking so strong there with a couple of cars down the order. But again, it's the top 2 drivers of each team that score points and the top 3 teams that move through into the final. The bottom 3 will be said goodbye to and will be lobbed onto the throttle. I think that's more of a penalty, if I'm perfectly honest. If I'm a team, I'm sort of thinking about the prize money that I'll lose, the reputation of this. But then Luke Crane will lob my team's logo onto the floor. That's pretty high on the list of things that I don't want to have happen.
No, that's pretty cool, though. But
it's
fair.
so
fair. Even if you win, I lobbed the winners yesterday on the floor as well. So it doesn't matter. Everyone's getting chucked on the floor at some point. It is what it is. Wish we had like a magnet in front of the fridge.
Do you think, but do you think you can get it to stick?
Yeah, 100%.
Really?
Yeah, I've perfected it.
Really?
How many goes have I had so far this weekend? 27?
I mean, you've had a fair few. I think what we need is to get Mike or Florian or someone to bring now a big ball, because I want to see that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll tell you what. After this broadcast is done, once we're away from live,
Magnet darts.
I'll hold on to the whiteboard and I'll stand about 10 feet away and you'll try and throw them at me. All right?
Yeah, you just have loads of scars over your
face.
face.
Thanks. Yeah, and I'll be going back to the hotel room with a few bruises over. Obviously, they'll be going to gridding in a few moments' time. I'm not sure as to what to expect from this race, because this track has been a lot more raceable than what we thought.
Yeah, it's more desperation again, isn't it? Because it's the end of their whole competition for 2023 for the ERWC. You know, you've got to be waiting for the next one for you to get a chance of retribution, which is 12 months between each other. So yeah, you're in trouble here if you don't absolutely send it. You've got to leave everything out there, as I said previously in the other quarter final, or the lower bracket quarter final. Now we're in the semi-finals. So yeah, if you don't position yourself in that top 3 and get through to our final, and you didn't give everything, you've only got yourselves to blame, right? And you just don't want to have that guilty conscience. And it's a team game as well. You don't want to let your team down. It's even harder. Like, as someone who's sim raced for a very long time, when I race on my own, if I let myself down, I get over that pretty quickly. You do something in a team event, environment, it's so long to get over. So yeah, you just got to make sure you just give everything.
It's why I don't like taking part in endurance racing. One of the first
really?
No, because it's the team thing. It's being part of the team. I love being a part of a team, but I hate the pressure of letting the team down. You know, of being that driver, whether you're involved in this is completely out of your fault, but the fact that you're the one that was behind the wheel, it was your responsibility, and then you got removed from it. And it is the same in this. You know, whilst this is certainly not endurance racing, you are racing as part of a team every single race that happens, and you don't want to be that one driver that's let them down. But at the end of the day, if there is going to be that case, someone has to let them down. It feels a very harsh way of putting it, but it is the truth. I've got to say one thing, by the way. As much as we've seen some crazy crashes, we've only had 14 incident points today, which that does not mean there's 14 incidents. There has been some incidents that have been given 3 points throughout, which I think totals to about 5 or 6 incidents that have been penalised throughout the opening few races. I wonder if we'll see the same in the semi-finals. We can see them on the grid. I think they'll be getting ready for their race down towards the first corner in a few moments' time. Yeah,
indeed. We are going to be saying goodbye to 3 teams, and we're going to be saying hello and welcome to the final for another 3 teams. It's Arnage competition there at the sharp end. We're about to go green light racing here for our semi-final. And we are off here, ladies and gentlemen. Off down towards turn 1, a very fast right-hander. Before then, there's a big check-up in a looping left-hander. And I tell you what, it's a very, very good start there from Dominic Bly. Around the outside, he will go. And by the time they come into the breakings over turn 2, has he got it done? He absolutely has. Again, a big chance to indeed get another podium while Enzo Benito is not racing. But ultimately, he has to win here and try and drag his team, because he wants to not only get a podium here, but wants to try and be in that final and then potentially in a showdown.
Yeah, I'm not sure where his highest placed teammate is. Of course, Tushkovic was there. You can see him in the background. Ignore the white and the black and blue car that's currently running up the order, because that is the Yaz heat, not the Triton Racing. So a bit of side-by-side coming out of the hairpin up towards Siberia, trying to get around the outside with one of the Unicorns of Love drivers, trying to make a move on rHG, not making that one stick. It's quite a hard corner to do that around the outside move through.
Yeah, people may think it's a bit of a disadvantage to, for people who get to the final and they miss out on this race opportunity for the most valuable driver. But if you make it to the final, you've got 3 attempts races. Potentially, definitely 2. So that's the advantage that you get. And the chance to get the podium is 50%, right? As we are looking on board here with David Toth, with that very pink looking top there. You recognise that top? You've got one of those, haven't
No,
you?
I don't.
Oh, do you not? Oh.
No, I know you. I knew that's why you set that up, and I want to throw many words your direction there. Good
You
sir.
did yesterday. I watched it back. You did throw those bad words
no,
at me.
I'm absolutely sure I did. I have no doubt in my mind, and you deserved it, so that's fine.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll keep our. I mean, to be fair, I still prefer the old Arnage shirts, but I do quite like the Arnage shirts they've got, and hopefully I'll receive mine at some point in 2020. In the next 10 years, that'll be all right.
Figuring out what year it is.
Jene Simičić retiring from this race. So for Burst, it's gone from bad to worst. So it's run with Burst. Is that terrible?
Just going to let the silence hang.
Nice.
Bly still leads here, 3/10 clear of Tamas Simon. Thibaut Casabon then is in 3rd position. Andre Martin's in 4th. Kazuki Umeshima finds himself in 5th position. Then we've got Florian Lebigre. So RAG looking really good right now. Dominic Bly with Triton. I've got Jadodzinski in P12. So that's 13 points as it stands. Arnage are on 9 points and RAG are on... what are they on? 9 points as well.
Yeah.
Is there a chance for anyone to be sneaky and getting here? Unicorns of Love are on 19. No, it is looking like Triton would still be good on 13 points.
Yeah.
You okay now? You've recovered?
Yeah, no, I was that really got me. Jagodzinski obviously has the assistance of the teammate of Matej Tuskovic behind. We'll take a look at a replay of the race start and some of the drivers behind. That's what happened to Jene Simičić. Oh my goodness. That would have been Ricardo Ferreira that was spun around along with pretty much everyone towards the back, and that's why Jene Simičić had to come back into the pit lane, struggling to get them off the line, especially when you're in the mid-pack.
I think it's Michi Hoyer, wasn't it? Michi Hoyer's gone into the back of Ferreira. Simičić had to check up on his own teammate, and then Hoyer's hit him again and spun. That was a comedy of errors, as they call it.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Certainly so. It was just very, very messy.
Just let off the loud pedal. He hit him twice.
Yeah, but
He went into him, and he went, oh, no, that's not enough. I'm going to hit him again.
Yeah, but it's not his platform.
And he's live right now, guys. You should probably check that out from his perspective, because I'm sure he's real happy about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Mitchie loves a bit of contact.
He loves a bit of a bit of aggression, a bit of anger. He's a good
Here we
guy.
go.
On board. This is on board with Mitchie.
Hey, there we go. He hit him twice. Oh, that's incredible.
I mean, like I say,
as if nothing happened. It's just like, yeah, I'm off to your left.
Just an unfortunate. I'm surprised his car's not written off, to be honest. Considering how this car is when it comes to contact, I think it probably is
wet, Lewis.
Significantly damaged. Mine's still what you were saying earlier.
Tears streaming down my face. That's incredible.
Dominic Blyer still holding on, 3/10 ahead of Thibaut Casabon, Andre Martin, Kazuki Umeshima, Florian Lebigre, who we're presently looking at the middle of all of this, and comfortably clear of David Toth at the moment, who I don't think needs to do very much in this race right now, because 2nd and 7th should be plenty.
Yeah, you went up on 2 wheels, Lewis, then hit him again. Sorry, I just can't get over it.
You cannot get over it.
That's one of the funniest things I've seen all weekend. He went up on 2 wheels, still managed to hit him a 2nd time. I guess if you're going to do it properly. Anyway, back to the actual race at hand. And Dominic Blyer can afford to lose 2 positions here in his individual battle with the most valuable driver. But as it stands, I think he's in trouble, right? Was it? Again, 13 points between him and Jagodzinski. R8G, they've currently got 9, still got 9. Arnage Competition, they've got themselves on 9 as well. Do they still go through here? Yeah, they do, right? Triton still
with 13, yeah, I believe so.
Wow, okay, so yeah, maybe an outside opportunity, but Dominic Blyer has been maybe one of the best drivers this weekend, for sure. It's not even a maybe. He's been outstanding.
I don't think it is a maybe. I think it's...
to be fair, he's the most valuable driver list, so I guess that kind of sums it up, right?
Yeah, but it's not even that, because, like, yeah, getting on the MVD list, of course, like, Darren McCormack has been is on the MVD list, and whilst there was... various issues, a bit of VR there, a bit of a VR as well from Tamas Simon. But whilst there were issues with Darren McCormack, yes, fair enough, we didn't really get to see the full pace. Dominic Blyer has been fast and consistent on all 3 platforms. Has been insanely impressive. There's an attempt to go around the outside from Tamas Simon. I don't think it's going to work. He's got to the inside of T2 though.
He's absolutely going to send it here through turn number 2. Blyer, again, we'll just try and filter it into P2. Doesn't need to win this race, but well, to be fair, to get his team safely through to the finals, he probably does actually. So now off to chase down Tamas Simon. But look at this, look at the group at the front here. We've got what, top 7 separated by absolutely nothing right now, as George Morgan would say, a gnat's eyelash.
I'm not sure if I don't think Dominic Blyer had a podium yesterday, did he? Or did he? Did he have a podium in like one of the...
Dominic Blyer, so probably.
Yeah, because the reason why I say this is because Dominic Blyer is in a potential position to join a very elusive list. Because in ERWC 1, the only person to have podiums on all 3 platforms was Alex Somolia, and he might join that list.
Jad, I can never say his name.
Jagatinsky.
Yeah, that's the one. Peter, he's up to 11th now, so he's moved up as we've seen.
Oh, Pete there.
Blyer drop down. Yeah, Pete.
Pete.
Postman Pete. Lebigre is now swapping position with Uma Shima like it's going out of fashion as well, so they're battling for a top 5. David Toth has the insurance now of Tamas Simon leading the way. Ricardo Ferrero, again, who was used as a bit of a battering ram at the start of this race. Still quite funny. He's down at 14th, but I think he might be able to participate again later on.
Yeah, potentially so, as we see Kazuki Mishima after that battle with Florian Lebigre not able to hang on to that position, so back outside of the top 5 now, 6th position at the moment. Davidov behind, like you say, probably not really wanting to get too involved in everything that's happening ahead, as Kazuki Mishima backed off a little bit from the fight going into turn 2, but I'm absolutely sure the number 43 will potentially send it coming down into the hairpin. There's a bit of a look, there's a bit of a send, there's a bit of an attempt, and away Kazuki Mishima goes, straight down the inside of Florian Lebigre, so the Frenchman will drop a position and potentially 2 if Toth wants to come through. Yeah,
Lebigre's played it really well there. Again, he's not really battled it too hard. Doesn't need to. They understand what they need to do at this stage. Don't get involved in any needless battles, whereas someone like Umashima is under the pressure to do so because the next driver for them is Michi Hoyer down in P15. They're, net points of 20 points. It's not looking too good for them. And realistically, now you're just trying to finish the highest you possibly can in this. Maybe make sure you come at least 4th, so you're gaining more points for the championship order later on.
Yeah, it's a big shame for Burst at the moment. Yeah, I mean, this is the problem with this kind of scenario where one driver from a team like Kazuki Umashima is in such a good position in the race. Is in a position where he's thinking, right, this is the team that's going to. But this happens all the time. This is not indicative of just this one scenario. Where you're in a great spot, but your teammate just aren't there to back you up. And this is what we've said before. This is a massive team game at the moment. And right now, Burst are not playing it after very, very sizable issues earlier on in the race, but basically almost a bit of friendly fire and such between the pair towards the back, as they'll head their way through the second corner once again. Defensive line are really trying to break the slipstream at the moment as Tamas Simon stopping Dominic Blyer from closing in too much. But I get the feeling the Triton Racing drivers are not going to be too desperate to go on the attack as Kazuki Umashima and Florian Lebigre once again switch as Ricardo Ferreira has had problems, so no final backup for Arnage. Yeah,
that might be a good thing, to be honest. Just get the third car out of the way. They're in a good position currently with P1 and P7 as there was a car off on the. Well, hello. What's this? There's a car off to the side of the circuit there. Is that a back marker? Is that Sean Arnold or who's dropping down there? There's someone just disappearing down the order. It must be a back marker. Maybe it's Simoncic.
I was going to say potentially is it Simoncic, and I believe it might well be just trying to get out of the way. Defensive move being taken from David Toth because Thomas Ronhar is on the scene. And we'll see them head through. We've had it confirmed it was Yerne, by the way.
Yeah, cheers, Mike.
So Ronhar was attacking David Toth and actually makes his way through, but also trying to get involved with Kazuki Umashima. So RHG moving up 3rd, 5th and 7th in the race at the moment. We're looking at Florian Lebigre because once again, guess who's coming? Of course, it's Kazuki Umashima trying to attack once again on the final lap. Oh my goodness.
Find yourself a gap off the circuit, why not? Now, we won't be able to go around the outside here, but these two have been changing position ridiculously, at least twice every single lap here, so I'm expecting to see at least one more exchange between the two drivers. But yeah, Lebigre and Umashima giving us an absolute smoke show of a performance right now. And this is going to help them, because psychologically, knowing you can overtake cars, it's good moving forward, especially if you make it to the final.
I'm told that my Arnage competition certs are being sent next week. So
really professional, mate.
Thank you for saying that on broadcast. No bias, absolutely no bias at all. But 1st and 8th at the moment, so we'll give them. I will give them a little bit more broadcast bias, at least for now. Because, and I've said this before, I'm easily bought out as a commentator. If you want to
like
do
Luca,
so,
really, it just shows up in a different shirt every day for a different team.
Apex Racing Team today.
Yeah.
I've said that before. It's Apex Racing Team. Today. There is the shirt that I'll be sent, so that's fine. Final corner though, Tamas Simon coming through the final one.
Yeah, Tamas Simon got into the lead, has not looked back, and actually has managed to get a gap. So the confidence will be running through the Hungarian's veins. He brings down the conversation tool, the microphone, I guess is what they actually call it, and he will win the semi-final here. Dominic Blyer picks up another podium, so it's going to be interesting to see how that has changed the landscape in terms of our most valuable driver. Thibaut Casavon takes P3 for R8G. We've then got Andre Martins in 4th position for Yaz Heat. We have then got Florian Lebigre backing up his teammate of Tebow in 5th position. Kazuki Umeshima, who was in 5th position about 700 times during that race, finishes down in 6th. Here's your official results then. It is Tamas Simon, Dominic Blyer, Thibaut Casabon, we've got Andre Martins, Florian Lebigre, we've got Kazuki Umeshima, Thomas Ronhart, David Toth, Bastian Richter, Michael Jani.
He's really slapping the table.
We've then got Peter, Nicholas Huben, Matthias Tajskovic, Michi Hoyer, Ango Inostroza, Sean Arnold, Ricardo Ferreira, and Jerne Simoncic as your 18 drivers.
Love Pete.
Good old Pete.
It's just not even going to attempt it. Goodness. Hello, Arjuna.
Hello again, if I can unmute myself.
Oh, yeah.
Wanted to make sure that.
He's the only one who hasn't.
Well, I wanted to make sure that I.
Well, yeah, because we've
both done it.
Yeah.
That's the first time he's done it.
Yeah,
yes!
that's true. You've done it.
Well, I was trying to make sure that in case there was some big crashes, I wasn't screaming and hollering and hooting over here.
He doesn't
sounds like an excuse to me.
He doesn't trust Mike to mute him on the broadcast. I think that's
I
terrible.
don't trust myself. No. I just don't trust myself at the end of the day. Semi-finals. I think R8G, what did I say? I posted this in the chat hoping that you guys would read this. R8G, Arnage, and TRITON all looking good to advance, so likely Yassi, Unicorns of Love, and Burst Esports. I think at this point, guys, I'd have to go and do the math, but I think Team Redline basically just needs to finish in 4th to win the World Cup. World Championship, whatever you want to call it.
I do believe so, because Unicorns of Love, like you say, from what I'm seeing on my list at the moment, it's kind of whether they're going to finish in 4th and 5th. They're joint on points with Yas Heat, but Yas Heat hold that position with a 4th place finish. It depends on whether there's going to be any instant points. Obviously, Race Control looking over that at the moment. I would be amazed if either RHG, Arnage, or realistically TRITON, they're the ones that are on the bubble, if they get knocked out, because they have to receive more than 6 points of penalty, which I just don't see. I don't see anything that was that wrong in that race.
I want to see Hoyer and Ferreira's incident again.
He'd love to see it.
So the way that I'm kind of looking at this is TRITON and R8G are the highest still left in the competition behind Redline. They got 16 points apiece. Redline have 21. That means that if...
It's Williams as well.
Williams has got 12 points, though. So Williams has had to finish 9 positions in front of Redline, which at this point is not a realistic chance. So it's again, it's TRITON and RHG hoping to try and get to Redline. It is possible if Redline finishes 6th in the final.
Well,
right?
for Williams, yeah, but no. But if they finish 6th in the final, then they finish 6th in the event. So Williams, even if they went through and won, then still would.
No, I'm talking about TRITON and RHG.
Oh,
Williams are done. Williams are out.
It's because he said it was it's basically they have to. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, realistically, right now, as we were expecting, it's around just the one opportunity for Redline. Tweet on the screen. There you go. You can see where Luca is. He's here.
Yeah, you can also hear him behind me as well. And it's just like having a parrot here, like legit.
Goodness me. Well, obviously here at Simply Race, also got Cam, Roger, and as long with everyone here. Obviously, Cam was running things server-wise and such behind the scenes yesterday. So it's very busy. I've got the results confirmed, by the way, so you might have to bring up
there we go.
Here we go. It's whiteboard time. We'll have to wait.
Who are we getting rid of?
Well, we'll have to wait a sec because we're not back on screen right now. It will be Burst, it will be Unicorns Love, and it will be Yas Heat. Here we go. Right.
Off we go. It's going to go that way.
Peace. We've got Unicorns Love.
Unicorns of Love.
See ya.
See you later, guys. Hey, great performance. You've really improved over the last 12 months, but so long.
And of course, Yas Heat. Right.
Yas Heat.
Our nice competition have lasted longer than we thought. They've done really well today.
That's true. It gets too hot. Get out the kitchen. Yas Heat. See you later.
There we go. And the final 6 teams are on the board.
They certainly are. Should we change the order? Nah.
No, I think Williams might need to move up if I were to move any of them. But realistically, I'm pretty satisfied with those.
Cool.
I don't know if Arjuna's still there or whether he agrees, but I think he's bailed from it.
Probably muted or something.
Yeah, you know what he's like. Do you agree? Yeah, Williams need to move up a bit.
Sure. I'm still trying to figure out the math. The maths here, because I think there's a potential that Redline may already have won the World Cup, but you should never trust a commentator's math. So I've sent a request off to someone much more intelligent than me with a calculator to confirm that, because it would make our lives a whole lot simpler if we could just focus on who wins here on iRacing on day number 3.
Ewan O'Leary's driving home at the moment, so he can't answer your
tweet
questions.
Carol Vorderman.
You think? What about Rachel Riley? You think she'll help?
Oh, I got a number, actually.
That is total rubbish. Did you find her in the club last night?
Here's a look at the tournament bracket as we head into that final confirmed Redline, the Apex Racing Team, Williams, R8G, Arnage, and TRITON. Maybe no real surprises there other than the fact that BS competition, by virtue of all the chaos in that quarterfinal lower bracket, unable to work their way forward, I think that's probably the biggest shock looking at this bracket, Luke, in terms of the iRacing teams.
Yeah, 100%. But again, you know, as I've said, this whole championship long, all 12 of these teams are capable of being exceptional on their day. There's a reason why they are our 12 finalists. So yeah, is it as big a surprise as we maybe what we would have expected? Probably not.
Lewis, you mentioned one thing about Dominic Blyer now tying.
Yeah, sorry, Mike
Alex.
shouted in my ear, Arjun. I can only apologise. Like, I don't know what you're saying.
No. I got confused about who I wanted to ask this to, and then I remembered it was Lewis that brought up that Dominic Blyer now joins Alex Smoliar in a very exclusive club as the only two drivers to have got podiums across the three platforms in an Esports Racing World Cup. Dominic Blyer and Enzo Benito now are tied on 6 podiums apiece, Lewis, so the MVD is going to basically come down to them as we finish up the competition.
Did he definitely had a podium yesterday? Or am I going crazy?
Yes, no, I've got the standings in front of me. I'm looking at them.
Good. Yeah, so obviously Smoliar was the only one to do. He actually got it in the second chance race, I think on ACC. It might have been on RF2.
It counts.
Might have been iRacing, actually. And then obviously got them in one of the main races. But yeah, Alex Smoliar being the only one to have done it, which I thought was crazy. Enzo Benito didn't get a podium, if I remember correctly, on ACC, but then, of course, absolutely smashed it out of the park. I still maintain, I think that MVD record, I think it's going to go the way of Enzo Benito. He's too strong. I suspect Redline will make the final. And in the final, I mean, if we have to use 3 races, I would be amazed, unless there's drama, if Enzo Benito was not on the podium in all 3 races. He's just that fast in this car right now.
Yeah, whoever makes the final, basically. If TRITON managed to make a final,
then great.
Imagine if it's TRITON and if Redline have won this, it'd be cool to see Blyer versus Benito for that as well.
Especially in his final showing with the team.
I still think that you can't discount Williams if Carl Janssen continues to show the speed that he's got. Sotomuto has been very, very quick across the competition as well. Let's 100%. Have a bit of a prediction time as they're just heading down over to qualifying for this semi-final. Or rather, for what I guess is now the final, rather. Yep, got myself confused by the live timing here. Which 2 teams make it through? I'm going to go first. I'll let you guys have your time to think. I'm going to go a little bit, I'll go a little bit oddball. I'm going to go Williams. And I'm going to go with the Apex Racing team.
Williams Redline.
Yeah, Williams Redline.
Williams Redline?
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most likely, but I'm just hoping to have at least a little bit of drama.
Apex have that ability, though, on iRacing to drag themselves to a result that they maybe not quite have the pace to get. The biggest strength of Apex is utilising like the team game. So that's the wild card, I would say. But for me, pace-wise today, it's Williams and indeed Redline.
Those 3, being Williams, Apex Racing Team, and Redline, those are the 3 that we expect to go through to that final. Does not mean the other 3 teams can't. So who knows?
Can Blyer drag TRITON?
We can hope.
Individual talent.
This is a race where I don't think that you can rely on the individual performance. We've seen plenty of chaos today. In fact, I think in some ways, despite the fact that, Lewis, you mentioned this, the penalty points have maybe been quite low overall, it has definitely been the race, the day rather, where we've seen the most chaos out on track.
Yeah, but it seems like some of the chaos has been through like those kind of instances where you don't really penalise anyone. You know, those kind of start crashes where just everyone gets involved. Those ones where like people are like spinning all over the place. It's kind of one of those ones you don't really penalise. For example, in the semi-final we just watched, we saw a few incidents in there, including on the race start. No penalties in the race. I think that's fair. I think there's a lot more understanding on the mistakes rather than that sort of awkward side-by-side stuff like what we saw in day 1, particularly in that final showdown race. I think, as a majority, I think today's been pretty good fun, actually.
Yeah, it has. I think the whole championship's been fun, right?
This
is what we're trying to do with the VCO stuff is, of course, there are motorsport events out there that mimic the real-world motorsport and sim racing. But this is kind of more of an esportsy feel, trying to have a bit of fun with it, trying to have a bit of a giggle. We've got these game shows stuff. Like, I think the whole point of those game shows is to be a little bit naff, isn't it? To have a bit of fun with and stuff like that.
That flag almost too naff, though.
Yeah. He waves the flag? Oh, wow, unbelievable. He's recreating the wheel.
Let's recap some of the action that we've had so far over the course of this Esports Racing World Cup. Let's go back to day 1 on Assetto Corsa Competizione.
So the showdown on day 1 of ERWC II was, of course, between Unicorns of Love and Williams Esports. It was a feisty fight all the way through. Williams Esports with the fastest drive of the day in Dara McCormack. The Unicorns of Love looking like the most consistent team. Qualifying went underway and it was Unicorns of Love towards the front of the field, only behind Dara McCormack. A dicey run down into the first corner. and it was extremely tricky and tense between the two of them. Unicorns of Love taking up those mid-pack positions. At this point, they would be winning the first race. Dara McCormack running away from the field, though, being kept under plenty of pressure from Unicorns of Love. As much as Williams Esports would lead the race and they would come across the line as the victors, Unicorns of Love holding a lot of those middle positions and leaving themselves in the most important place of taking top honours in the first race of the showdown. Also a penalty point going its way to Williams. Once the second race, it was really elbows out between a lot of them. Williams Esports down the inside of Unicorns of Love, almost 3 wide up towards Villeneuve between the grouping. Dara McCormack trying to get back on the attack, trying to find his way into the mix. Very difficult indeed. It was only going to get Dacia and Dacia. Tobias Gronewold hanging on at the moment for 4th position, as Unicorns of Love were just about hanging on to the race lead. Out wide though, Dara McCormack up and under, managing to dive his way through up towards the line. He would take victory. Unfortunately, the combat would go slightly sideways between the grouping, as we would require a third race. It was 1-1 heading into it. Unicorns of Love, Williams Esports looking for top honours on the very first day. And right at the end of it, after such a feisty affair in the third race, it was Unicorns of Love leaving themselves in the higher up positions. Penalty points were dished out between the pair of them after incidents like this. Bastian Richter down the inside of Dara McCormack, elbows out between the pair of them, and it only got a little bit worse between the pair. 2 penalty points apiece would leave Unicorns of Love the winners on day 1 of ERWC II.
He kept waving the flag, Arjuna. The flag
was
kept
waved.
waving the flag.
I'm shocked.
Unbelievable.
We're gonna come up with some good games for the Esports Racing League. I think that is one of the things that we'll do after all of this. Guys, with qualifying now officially in the books, I think it can also be confirmed that with the points standing as they are, there is no way for Team Redline to be toppled in the points. They are officially back-to-back Esports Racing World Cup champions, and it means now we can focus solely on who is the best here on iRacing.
Should be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. I think we're in for an absolute treat of a showdown.
Good to meet Enzo as well, right?
There we go. There is your little video. We'll, of course, talk after all of this is done with them and see exactly how it goes. I'm very curious just, though, to see, Luke, if unlike last year where Redline won, I think, on both the second and third days, if today we'll see 3 different winners across the 3 different platforms.
I think this is the biggest indicator is Muto and Janss's pace. I think they both were in a position to actually go into the leaders race and kind of just sat back a touch and didn't make that move. Maybe it's a case, I was saying to them, are they potentially just holding back here to not give Redline any indication of how quick they really are? Or is it a case of they weren't able to make the overtake? We're going to find that out over the next couple of races, and maybe Williams don't even make it to the final. Maybe Redline don't even make it to the final. You could potentially see 2 different teams. Anything could happen. It is literally 2 teams from 6 now.
We could make the final.
Well, we will be there, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly.
Showdown.
The showdown.
Showdown Super
Very
Final.
confusing.
Of course, still the MVD up for grabs as well. Dominic Blyer and Enzo Benito locked now in what is basically a one-on-one from here until the very end. Qualifying is already in the books. The grid is getting locked and loaded, only about 90 seconds away from going racing. So I think it's, again, that time when I step away, leave you in the hands of Lewis and Luke. Let's run down the grid for the final here on day 3 of ERWC.
Oh, that's better. Get rid of him. Anyway, Sotomuto taking pole position. A fantastic qualifying lap to have beaten out Enzo Benito. The 2 of those have been starting towards the front consistently today. Diogo Pinto in 3rd with Carl Janssen for Williams Esports in 4th. That is 2 apiece on the front 2 rows. Tamash Simon in 5th position with Dominic Blyer in 6th, looking to get onto the podium and continue his MVD streak, as David Toth in 7th. Alejandro Sanchez, Moreno Sarica, Thibaut Casamon in 10th. Chris Lulham not able to assist his team. Same with Moreno Sarica down in 9th and 11th between the 2 of them. Florian Labiga rounding out the top 12. The final 6 cars on the grid with Salva Talens, Thomas Ronha, Ricardo Ferreira, Matusz Tushkovic, Pete Jagodzinski, it's fine, and then Luke McEwen in 18th. The 18-car grid, but a big shock there. Sotomuto taking pole position.
Yes, and having 2 Williams and 2 Redlines on the front 2 rows. Also, Diogo Pinto finding just a little bit more pace as well. So he's someone who's going to get faster and faster as the day goes on. One of the very fastest on iRacing as a whole. Lewis, it's time for the final. We're going to make 6 become 2.
Yes, indeed. We're looking for the groupings to move through into the showdown. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Williams? Is it going to be Redline? Is it going to be someone else as well? As the race will get underway and our battle to move on into the showdown races its way down towards the first corner. So Demuto with a super start for Williams Esports on the race down towards the first corner as they head down there at Redline, dropping back into the background. The other Williams of Janssens also got under attack by Arnage Competition, but as they head through the first corner, it is all square. Arnage going on the attack to get around the outside, but at the moment I think they might be pushed out wide as there was almost a touch between Redline and Williams.
Yeah, there we go. It was nearly Pinto and Janssen coming together through turn number 2. Luckily, they do indeed avoid each other. It's almost like they're giving us a bit of a prequel to the final here. It looks like we might potentially have a 4-race final between Redline and Williams right now, because they are locking out that front 4 positions and only the top 2 drivers count towards your advancement through.
Oh my goodness, there was a bit of a squeeze there. RHG, there was a hit there.
Apex.
I think that might have been the red line of Lulham that was actually thrown up a little bit there. So they confirmed that was the case. It was Lulham with a bit of contact there in the background. Could have a bit of a damaged car. Thankfully, his 2 teammates are up ahead. You can see him looking down the inside, coming up to Lukey Heights as he throws it into the inside of the RHG man, and now maybe even into the inside of the head. But that would be brave. But it's Williams Esports with a send. You can't risk penalty points. Wow, that was terrifying.
Imagine you take a couple of cars out and then that costs your team to go through. That's just, your manager's got to be turning around and going, no, don't do that. That's just silly.
But that was a serious no as well.
Yeah,
I feel like I've been told off.
With the amount of money that's on the line here, there's a big opportunity, some big old cashola. So
sorry, Dad.
Yeah, no dramas. Yeah, just don't take too many chances there. That's very, very silly.
Yes.
You see a trio of Apex cars, by the way, all next to each other. We've got 2 green ones and 1 red rear wing. So they've missed the blue here. We've got a replay for this. This is going to be the little shunt.
This is the bit with Lulham. This is coming down to the hairpins. There's a couple of squeezes, some big dives as you expect. You've got one of the Apex Racing Team cars around the outside. The contact really happens though as they get down into Siberia. So you've got one of the RHGs there, a big send down the inside. And I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like the Apex Racing Team car was kind of there. They got to the white line, just kind of following it around. They just kind of almost tripped over each other. That's how I felt.
The Apex car went beyond the Apex. They overextended. It's an Arnage competition car. That looks cool, but it's not fast.
No, it's not. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell there. I mean, the problem with Siberia is that you do tend to take that white line. But if you're diving it down the inside, it's very cold. You have to keep it onto that white line. What will race control say? I mean, I can see that one of those instances. I can see it going either way. I can see it being a penalty, absolutely, and I can see it also being passed off. What happened to RHG there as we
go across
the replay?
Go across the car. We're going to see what happened to the Arnage competition cars. David Toff, as he goes in behind the TRITON car, sends it down the inside. Unfortunately, runs out of talent a touch. And then on the exit here, they're going to have a coming together. It's 3 wide here. This is never going to end well, is it? Surely. Yeah. It's just about. It goes so well for so long, and then 3 wide ultimately ends up with the Arnage competition car being sent off into the distance. Is this the most dominant from 2 teams we've ever seen in a final? I think this possibly is. Like, there's no. It's just not really. It doesn't matter what any other team does right now. It's obvious who's going through. I don't think we've ever had this.
I think Apex Racing Team and Redline might have done it before on iRacing at various times, because they've also been extremely strong. I could distinctly remember Road America.
Occupied the whole top 4.
I distinctly remember Road America.
Really?
They were insanely strong. Particularly Apex were insanely strong. Back in Road America when we were using, that would have been the IndyCar IR18. Anyway, out of Siberia, bit of a side-by-side as Alejandro Sanchez is trying to fend off Dominic Blyer as we head through the S's up towards Lukey Heights. The outside line through here can sometimes work, so you can just really throw that speed into the car, into the corner. And it does seem as though Dominic Blyer is able to hang on. He's dropped back a position from where he started, courtesy of Thibaut Casamon moving up a position, but Dominic Blyer is able to fend off the trio of Apex Racing Team cars behind. Here's another replay. Exactly what's been going on.
Yeah, here we go. So having a look at a Williams car and an RHG.
Touch the curb.
Yeah, a bit of a mess there from the. Oh, he just drove across it. Maybe touch of net code there, but if anything, the RHG car's driven across the
nose.
car.
I agree. I do agree there. Not sure which one that would have been. Whether it would have been. I think it would have been the Bigre. Would have been Ronha.
Yeah, it could be Ronha or Le Bigre, right?
Yeah,
Thibaut's too far up the order for that.
Exactly. It's certainly one of those ones a bit further down. We're looking at your best mate, Peter Jagodzinski, who's trying to fend and his way past, and once again Thomas Ronha, and also keep Ricardo Ferreira at bay. Switches as Blyer and Casabon switch, as there is the move. That is the dive, once again down the inside, and so that is Dominic Blyer moving up to 6th position, getting his way past. That was a big netcode there for the Apex Racing team, and Alejandro Sanchez, goodbye and see ya.
Off to Albert Park they go. That was not ideal in the slightest, but it didn't look like there was any contact there, so I'm not sure Blyer's done too much wrong.
No.
But Blyer right now, again, if you're in Arnage competition, if you are right now for TRITON, there's nothing you can do. You're not going to go through to the showdown. You need to just make sure that if someone like Blyer, you need to get some podiums. Here we go. We're going to see the incident here. So Blyer's on the inside, and we've got Casabon on the outside.
Yeah.
The Apex car coming through here as well. And there we go.
Stonking netcode. It's not actually the biggest netcode I've ever seen, but
no, it's not good though.
It's certainly not a penalty. That is for sure. You can't penalise for that, unfortunately. And like you say, Alejandro Sanchez in the car, he'll probably be sat there thinking, "God, this guy." Watching it from the sidelines, it is very clear what happened there, and unfortunately, it's him sent down the road. Salvatales and Luke McEwen, though, 8th and 9th position, still representing for the Apex Racing team with potential on the horizon. I think Mateusz Tuszkiewicz has had a couple of problems as well, as he's dropped back behind Jagodzinski and Ricardo Ferreira and David Doff and Alejandro Sanchez. So Mateusz Tuszkiewicz down the order, and unfortunately, whilst their teammate Dominic Blyer is in 6th position, TRITON Racing ain't going anywhere from this. Like you say, it is set to be Williams versus Redline.
But yeah, for everyone else right now, they've got to be trying to vie for that 3rd position. That's where their money is. It's still, you know, if you go out at this stage, you want to be 3rd instead of 4th, 5th, and 6th, because there's more money per position. Obviously, the more points you get today as well adds to your championship total, the more cash you earn through that as well. So yeah, it's it's maybe done and dusted for your day in terms of having any more races, but you want to try and gain as many positions as possible. And let's have a little look here. Who looks good to be in a top 3? Arnage right now, they've got themselves 19 points. Dominic Blyer for TRITON is in 6th. Second driver is Pete. Pete's down. It was 20 points. They would not be ahead, would they, right now? So Arnage would be ahead of them. We've then got R8G, who are currently occupying 7th and 12th with 19 points. There's a tie currently for 3rd. But then we've got Apex, who have got 9 and 8, which is 17. So they would actually be 3rd as it stands.
Yeah, I believe so, although they might just lose a position here as Lullen gets down the inside of Luke McEwen, so they go now to 18 points as Lullen's charged back up the order, riding on board with him. He might have McEwen straight back down the inside. He is leaving room here, heading through the fast left-hander down towards the hairpin, so there is the Apex Racing team car popping onto your screen. Salvatales getting past Thibaut Casabon ahead of this, a bit of a side-by-side hit check between the two. Power being put down from Lullen, and once again McEwen's trying to drag himself alongside, but is not able to do so, so Apex Racing team losing a position this lap. It is 18 points for them.
Yeah, really nice move there. Really nice exchange actually between 2 cars in front and 2 cars behind. Lullen doesn't need to be doing that, doesn't need to be getting involved, but I'm very thankful he is to make this race a little bit more interesting. But Lullen, we'll see a little bit more from him, and I'm sure he'll have a little bit more of an impact when it comes to the Super Showdown.
Super Showdown. Goodness me.
There's so many different names for these races I've made up. Florian must have sat there going, God, I do all this marketing, I do all these graphics, and then Luke comes along and just ruins everything.
He did a lot of alliteration the other day before we went live on Friday, where he was calling it the Super something, something else, some other things that I can't say Showdown. It was very good.
Super sexy Showdown.
Yeah, it was in that vein. As we'll see Salvatales closing in on Thibaut Casabon. He could go for a move down into T2 here and might well need to do so if they're looking for 3rd in ERWC II today, at least in day 3, and to get some decent points on the board. They've struggled quite a bit throughout the competition. That was very tasty indeed. So moving up to 7th position, once again they move back to 17 points as they try and hunt down some more, but I get the feeling Casabon's driving it as well.
He's absolutely sent it there, and he backs out. And sometimes you just got to tip your hat to 2 drivers there, both of them leaving each other the perfect amount of room. Thibaut nearly ruined what I was about to say there by sending it, but again, he backed out. He knows the length of his car, which is quite long.
Yeah, again, it was very well. I think it's kind of one of those ones where if you're going to dive it down the inside, you have to fully commit. And it was a sort of like that 50-50 where it just happens to work. As we look at Moreno Sarica, McEwen ahead, still continuing to struggle as we've got one more lap to go.
Chuck your car on the ball, Sarica. Get out of this. Yeah. Don't put your team in any potential jeopardy. We never see it, right? We actually never see a car really, apart from Unicorns Love the other day, just drive off the track.
Yeah.
I'm parking it. If I'm the third car, I'd be like, I'm doing the most important thing for the team. I'm taking my car off the track.
Especially when your team's running first and fourth. Well, that said, even if he does get involved, he has to get some stonking penalties to not have the team go through to the final.
And also, if there's a potentially a technical issue or something with one of the drivers, I guess it makes sense. But yeah, I am letting everyone go by me right now if I'm him. Not getting involved at all.
He's giving it a go though, so at least I think it's helpful. It's given a bit of learning as they head through.
Look at Thomas Simon, by the way. He's looking at those four in front, going, "I don't care about your championship hopes in your final. I want to try and get to a podium spot here. I want to try and ruin your day by overtaking you." So he doesn't care about these four because the four in front are probably not going to make any moves on each other. As we see, an absolute send here. That is Sarika, right?
Yeah, it is Moreno Sarika. Big kick of oversteer. Wow, Luke Crane really liked that attempt.
Sorry.
Florian Lebigra, just ahead of this, it was on the outside of Thomas Ron.
I didn't think I could get that high, to be honest. That was some noise.
That certainly was. That was the shock of such an attempt going into the hairpin. Only got a few more corners left to go. They'll head through the hairpin, head up towards the penultimate corner and round the final. And whilst everyone's been fighting behind, these four up at the front, or really five if you count Tamás Simon, are looking to book their place into the showdown. Williams Esports with first and fourth, Redline second and third. It should be good enough to see them go toe-to-toe just a bit later on, as it'll be showdown time around Phillip Island as Sotomuto takes victory in the final race for the showdown. Of course, as Thibaut Casavant, our attention there, comes across the line, managed to, I think, gain a little bit of a spot there on the last lap.
Certainly did. We're about to get the official results pop up on your screen, but I think that's first strike to Williams. Okay, it won't count towards the final in terms of them going 1-0 up, but they've just let Redline know that this is not going to be easy.
No, certainly not so. So there is the confirmation of the race results. Sotomuto, Enzo Benito, Diego Pinto, Carl Janssen. We'll see those racing on in a few moments' time. Tamás Simon, of course, gone from the competition. Arnage competition not doing well enough. Dominic Blyer, his last ever race for the TRITON Racing team, at least as far as we are aware. 6th place. So I can't wait to see what his future has in store. Sour Talents, Thibaut Casabon, Chris Lullum, again, we'll see him a little bit later on, and Luke McEwen rounding out the top 10 for the Apex Racing team, who we think might have third in the day's action. Florian Lebigra in 11th position with Moreno Sarika, Thomas Ronha, old PT Boy, Jagodzinski in 14th, Ricardo Ferreira, Alejandro Sanchez, David Toth, and Mateusz Tuszkiewicz. Looking at what I've got in front of me, Triton Racing got 2 points, penalty points at the end of that. It's not fully confirmed yet, but from what I've got, the Apex Racing team do look like they're in third with 17 points, 19 to RAG. Hello, Arjuna, the bane of my existence.
Yeah, Apex, well, unfortunately, just not able to qualify, I think, as well as they would have wanted. And in a race like this, once you're on the back foot, very difficult to charge your way forward to the front. I think we're in for a pretty intriguing final here. I don't think this is one that we're going to settle into, Luke.
No, I think Williams they look strong from the offset, and Muto and Janssen, again, I said they had an opportunity to maybe make an overtake on Redline, but kind of went against it. But then Muto showed absolute raw pace in terms of qualifying P1, and went out and led from start to finish, and that is going to do his confidence the world of good, because Redline, once you give them a head of steam, they will just take that and they'll run away with it, and they become even more dangerous. You give Redline confidence, they are a different animal entirely. But Williams, well, we've just let them know that it's not going to be a very easy job today if Redline want to win. Of course, we know that they're the winners of the whole World Cup, the second time they've done it. But in terms of the actual day, it's going to be a very difficult one.
I'm going to be bold. I actually don't think it's going to go to 3 races, but I don't know who's going to win. I think it's going to be done in 2. But I don't know which one it will be, because it really can be either way with this. Williams, like, it is super tight between the two of them. We couldn't have predicted this coming into the day that Williams were going to be this strong, but I do believe it's going to be done in 2 races.
One thing to note is, I think with this result, Williams Esports still have the chance, whether they finish second or first, to be third in the overall Esports Racing World Cup standings, which is pretty significant. And I'll go back to the fact that yesterday they finished dead last. They finished with just 1 point on rFactor 2. Confirmation of the showdown, it is going to be Williams Esports versus our already crowned Esports Racing World Cup 2 champions team Redline. But yeah, again, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier, Lewis. If Williams had a slightly better day on rFactor 2, maybe shuffled their lineup to give them more of a chance on that platform, as we're going to see Luke eat a few more of those magnets off the board. I think Williams Esports very much could have been one of the favourites to be fighting for this World Cup.
Yeah, that's Arnage gone. He's looking for the Apex Racing team. They're going to go goodbye. He's not doing these in any sort of order.
I've got no nails, that's the trouble.
Yeah, no, it's tricky,
Yeah.
isn't it? Obviously, you got to throw off RHG and Triton, and they are hard to take off, by the way. Those. I like how there's no attempt anymore. It's not directional. It's just oh, thank you. Was that Triton? Was that RHG?
It's one of the teams.
Don't know. Just picks them up.
Been a long weekend, ladies and gentlemen.
Fantastic. There is our fun. If you didn't see the graphic on screen, there it is in low res. Sorry. Williams versus Redline. Who's going to win? Arjuna, go.
I think Williams.
I also think Williams.
I also think Redline.
He was I don't know. I mean, it's hard to count against Redline, of course,
Well,
but Williams looks so good.
I'd like
today.
to see Williams do it, but I'd also like to see Enzo be interviewed twice. So.
Well, here's what we've been through today. The final that we've just seen, of course, Williams Esports and Team Redline, 5 points apiece between the two of them. So we'll see them go toe-to-toe in a best-of-3 showdown. The Apex Racing team with 17 points in that final puts them third overall of the day. Then rHG, Arnage Competition, and Triton being the top 6 teams of the day. Those that were knocked out earlier in order of them, Yaz Heat, Unicorns of Love, and Burst will be 7th, 8th, and 9th. And then Veloce, BS Competition, and Team Fordzilla will be 10th, 11th, and 12th. We just have to work out who's going to be finishing first and who is going to be finishing second.
Yeah, Lewis totally ignored, by the way, my question.
Oh, yeah,
so
no,
instead,
I was too busy focusing on the throw.
With this look at the bracket, let's go. We've already recapped day number 1 on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Let's take a recap of day 2 yesterday on rFactor 2.
So extended highlights then on the build-up towards the showdown on day 2 of ERWC II as we went racing in the Infinity Q50 around Interlagos after the technical issues the broadcast on the day. Redline were holding a 1-2 through the first corner after a fantastic qualifying from Enzo Benito. He'd hang on to the race lead through the first section. Marcel Cinchik was trying to keep them close company in the rHG car. Unfortunately, struggles for Williams would keep them towards the back. Not too much drama through 1, 2 and 3, but it certainly would arrive as the lap would continue here in the opener of day 2, heading up through this middle sector. There was an issue with Jerne Simičić getting down the inside of Gianmarco Verducci. Contact between the two. Gianmarco would go for a spin, take Jerne Simičić with him, and have a spin right in front of the entire mid-pack. Very scary indeed. They would get back going again, but right towards the rear end. Reina Talva having a couple of issues in the middle of the pack as well as Williams all struggling their way. Up the run towards turn 4, that was where Reina Talva was sent off to the left-hand side. Fordzilla also with them, and it would drop them down the order. BS Competition, though, thankfully with cars up inside the top 10 with a couple up there. Redline taking a 1-2 across the line. Marcel Cinchik there in third, and it would be a 4th place, the third Team Redline car, looking very strong on day 2. The quarter-final upper bracket would get underway as we look for the top 3 teams to move their way straight through into the final, and once again it was a 1-2 for Team Redline on the grid. The race down through the first corner, BS Competition hanging on but holding up the entire pack behind. You got the third Team Redline car trying to work their way through, and eventually they would up through the final corner. It would be a Redline 1, 2, 3 because they'd worked up into that third position, taking a very dominant race victory in the quarterfinal upper bracket to move straight through into the final, dragging themselves along with BS Competition and rHG after strong results. For Unicorns of Love, Veloce and Triton, it was a move through into the semi-finals. Redline dominant towards the line. They would cross very close, but no switches between them. Onto the quarter-final lower bracket, and it was Yaz Heat starting first and second, and it was the fight for survival as the top 3 teams would move through into the semi-finals. The bottom 3 teams would be knocked out of the competition altogether. Into that first corner, not too many dramas as the front pack were heading their way through, but the race down towards turn 4, it would really kick off. Williams sent off straight into the barrier, into the middle of the pack. Arnage Competition also being beaten up and all of that, and Apex having a mare as well. Very scary indeed as they would rejoin straight ahead of them. Not what some teams would call ideal. Team Fordzilla also having a couple of issues, and then there was another one with Burst being sent off by Apex. Then there was Apex contact as they were heading through the central section. It was not what we wanted to see. Unfortunately though, they were all fighting for survival, and this is not how Apex would survive. Guile Bolero somehow doing a 360 on the run down towards turn 1, doing an enormous spin, not collecting anyone. They're also having a couple of issues in the background. We've got Yaz Heat versus Apex versus Burst versus a couple of Fordzillas, and this is where things got very scary indeed. Contact as we were heading into this right-hander, as we had Sean Arnold go straight on and then rejoin. right there, into the middle of the pack. Very unfortunate for Fordzilla, who would be sent around. Same with First. And unfortunately for them, it might have been a way out. Fordzilla and Williams and Arnage being knocked out as we head on to the semi-final. This was where, again, 3 teams would work their way through into the final, and it was Unicorns of Love in a decent position up inside the top 10, along with TRITON and Yazheat at the start of the race, but contact through the first corner, and TRITON being sent around ahead of the entirety of the pack, Veloce being bitten quite hard from all of that, and TRITON being sent round to the back. The cluster would continue all their way through turn 3 also, as Yazheat took another visit to the barrier, out onto the run down towards turn 4. Everything had calmed down ever so slightly. For Unicorns of Love, the first and the 5th would be enough to progress their way into the final. Veloce had managed to keep their nose clean outside of that first lap, and they would be the second team to progress, along with First also. TRITON, Apex and Yazheat would be the ones to be knocked out after a victory for Unicorns of Love. Onto the final though after this, and it was back to seeing who would go into the showdown. The top 2 teams, amazingly, we got a BS competition onto the front row after an incredible qualifying lap. Marcel Tinchik though with the best start to the race, with the run down towards the first corner, getting a bit elbows out. All about that red line domination. There was contact into the first corner, Gianmarco Fiducci being sent on, Unicorns of Love being sent around ahead of all 3 of the Burst Esports cars who had to skip their way over, as Marcel Tinchik would take victory for RHG, but it was Team Redline and BS competition moving through to the showdown.
Well, hello everyone, just getting ready for the showdown here to close out the Esports Racing World Cup for 2023. Great look at the highlights from yesterday. Didn't get to watch a lot of it, unfortunately, on the broadcast, but we're glad that Lewis was at least able to take you through a lot of what happened. Championship has already been wrapped up, gents, and our most valuable driver has also now officially been wrapped up. And this will be something that delights you, Luke Crane, because Enzo Benito, now with 7 podiums, is our most valuable driver.
Yeah, all jokes aside, the bloke's a monster when it comes to sim racing. He's so good across all the sims out there. You know, he's just one of the very best of I guess we've only had one generation really as sim racers, haven't we? But he'll be remembered, and genuinely in 20, 30 years' time, Enzo Benito will be remembered as a generational talent. Like, that's how good he is. And he is bloody beautiful.
I think we're almost in the second generation. I think we're kind of in that bit of like we're seeing like all the new guns coming through. But yeah, I get exactly what you mean. Like he is a.
I don't think we'll realise how important he is until 10 years' time.
Yeah.
Well, qualifying just about to come to a close for the first of the showdown races. Remember, if we need the 3rd showdown race, we'll go to qualifying once again. Race 2, a top 4 inverted start. Let's go to qualifying, though. Let's head back to what's going to be a fun race at Phillip Island.
It's time, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the showdown. Qualifying's done. It's fine. But Chris Lullum is P1, Kari Jansen P2, Diogo Pinto P3, then we got Soto Muto in P4, Enzo Benito 5, and Moreno Sarica 6th. And do you know what's so exciting about that? It goes Redline Williams, Redline Williams, Redline Williams.
Yeah, it's going to be very tight and testy between the 2 of them. And that's what we want. Yeah, we want this to be close. We want this to be hard fought. We want this to be brutal. Yeah, we want it to be clean, though, at the end of the day. That's obviously what we have seen before in these events. You know, sometimes when it comes to the head-to-head, things can get a little bit out of hand. Part of me thinks that's not going to be the case. That looks beautiful, though. Flying formation for both teams.
It certainly does. Yes, it looks lovely. Has everyone got their arms crossed? Oh, no. Only Pinto doesn't have his arms crossed, so he loses instantly a couple of tenths of a second.
Maybe he's got his arms crossed behind his back.
Yeah, still a couple of tenths lost, though. Everyone knows in sim racing you've got to have the esports arms crossed pose. It's just a way of getting faster.
But also, like the Williams esports ones, they've got the arms crossed and 45 degrees, which is the proper esports pose.
Yeah, I love that. Anyway, should we actually go talk through the grid? Probably a good idea. Well, it doesn't matter. Go on.
You already did it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
so.
don't whiz.
I will say one thing. Benito's just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go from 5th position and try and get to the front, give the fans what they want, a bit of a show here at Phillip Island, which I'm all for.
Yeah, what if, but you know, it's risky, isn't it? If he started, the thing is I genuinely think, from what we've seen,
he's obviously not doing it on purpose.
Yes, I know he's not.
Crikey.
Don't start. All 6 of these drivers, I think, can absolutely win this race. Genuinely, like it's because like the pace is so close between these 2 teams. I genuinely think all 6 of these drivers have the ability. It's just kind of like depends on who happens to hook it up in qualifying and then who's in the right place at the right time. It's madness.
whoever's quickest in a race will win as well. You can add that to it as well.
That's true.
Cool,
that
nice
true.
one. Thank you, Lewis, for your very insightful knowledge.
Thank you. That's
that's a lovely shot there.
That's the ocean. It's very goopy
That is the ocean
water.
plus a lake.
It's goopy water, though, isn't it?
We've got fresh water / some seawater as well. So, yeah, beautiful there as we get a look at the drivers below and beautiful. Imagine a lovely long walk along there. Nice picnic.
With Enzo.
You know, I didn't want to bring that up, but obviously
I know that's where your mind was going.
Yeah.
I've commentated with you enough.
That's true. But there is the big pan shot of Phillip Island. It's almost like a links race course. You've got links golf courses, but this is a links race course.
Yeah, it's just very open, very...
I guess it would actually affect the racing, right? The wind around something like this. Yeah, yeah.
Really
especially these
does.
kind of cars.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously not on this sim. There is no wind set, I wouldn't imagine. It'd probably be the standard 78 Fahrenheit, right?
yeah, I mean...
0 miles per hour northeast wind.
It's normally that run into turn one. Seriously windy. It's one thing that Phillip Island is very, very well known for. But on this occasion, it doesn't really matter too much. It would be causing havoc in the races. You can see them all there. They're all getting their final little bits of preparation before the lights will come on in a few moments' time. I have no idea who's going to win this first race.
Nope, we're about to find out. It's time for race number 1 of the showdown then. Top 2 drivers in each team's points count towards the race result. And then in the second race, it's the top 4 positions reversed as your grid for race number 2. If we need a race number 3, there will be another qualifying session. It is first blood, though, to Williams at the front there. Did Williams no, it's Redline qualified pole, of course. Yeah, Redline on the inside there, on the left-hand side of the screen. All the Williams cars on the right-hand side. We are green light racing for the first race of the showdown. And while we head then down towards turn number 1, it's actually Lullum, isn't it? Lullum takes them down with Janssen just in behind, and there's almost a little bit of nudging there. And I tell you what, Williams car's off the circuit, that is game over. And actually, I tell you what, well, whatever that was in the way, you know, they sorted it out. But yeah, the grass here, once you get on there, it's like an ice rink. So one Williams car, unfortunately, has succumbed to the pressure. Yeah. And right now, Williams needs to make at least 2 overtakes if they are to indeed get themselves into a position of winning this. And I tell you what, Janssen is doing his absolute best to try to do it now.
Yeah, it was Sotomutu who had the issues, but Carl Janssen's trying to get around the outside. Little bit of room just given. That was perfect stuff from Janssen's. Fair play from Chris Lullum. You're absolutely right. Down into Siberia. That's the Williams Esports car straight on the inside. Big kick of oversteerers. There might have been a brush between the two of them, but they're going to run side by side up towards the S's. Janssen on the right-hand side and Chris Lullum on the left. Fantastic stuff between the two.
Do you know what? Take a bow, both of them. They are racing so respectfully here. I think there might have been a little bit of a netcode touch there more than anything, but look at this. Respectful racing. I think Janssen's finally going to get the job done here. It took the best part of 2 sectors to get it done, but that's brilliant stuff. That's what you want to see from a final, and hopefully we're going to get 3 races like this. Lullum now into second spot. The most important factor here is that right now Williams are only gaining 6. Well, they're gaining 6 points, whereas Redline being second and third right now is 5 points. So right now, as much as Williams are winning this race, Redline are in pole position to win race number 1.
Lift off from Diogo Pinto. No intent to fight Chris Lullum, of course. Why would you? No switches between them. Like you say, at the moment, that is very important. But Moreno Sarica has been caught by Sotomutu. That's the important bit for me, as he's trying to go around the outside of Sarica. This is not normally going to work, but he might try the up and under and potentially try and get some more overspeed off of turn 2, hold it through turn 3 in the kick, and then dive it down the inside. Does Moreno Sarica let his teammate through, though? At the moment, his eyes are focused on the Redline cars. Head! Oh, my goodness me, as he sends it to the inside.
Yeah, I'm not sure we needed to get that excited for it. Don't shout over each other. Yeah, there was an opportunity there, and now Muto's been let through. So you're right, Sarica had the opportunity to make an overtake, and now he's let Muto go through. Muto, who's been one of the standout in terms of raw pace out of everybody here. And right now, he needs to isolate the third Redline car. He needs to isolate Enzo Benito, but Enzo's one of the toughest drivers to overtake in the world.
Well, we're second replay of the race start. This is what happened to Sotomutu. I think there might have... I kind of, like, deep down, I'm like, maybe there was a bit of netcode in there, but I actually just think he just drove off the track. I think he misjudged it, going around the outside, couldn't see his turning point, missed it a touch, went wide. Thankfully, didn't get involved with the marshal posters on the inside there, or coming straight across and rejoining into them, which I thought we were going to play a bit of Wii bowling there, and thankfully we didn't. Because of that, he's joined into the fight. Let's see if Lullum's going to fight his way through. As much as they don't have to at the moment, I still think it'll be in their mind. They've kind of just got to get on with it. They've got to try and find a way past to stop Williams from being in a good spot.
Oh, they have to. Yeah, I think they have to definitely go out there and get this result, because Muto is definitely capable of making an overtake. But it's a bit of a slipstream train as it stands here. Benito's being helped out by the group in front. Right now, if Lullum can getting himself into the lead. It's almost like Diego needs to help Benito by just keeping him in that slipstream so that he's not under pressure from Muto. Muto now 0.3 of a second back as we do take a look here for the replay. This is the overtake between Lullam and Janssen. So Lullam, again, being so respectful here, leaving a perfect amount of room, a little bit of squeezing from both drivers, but look at this, Janssen just kept himself in the inside line, gets across the front nose then of Lullam in the end, and again, two drivers really at the top of their game and really respecting each other as well for that reason. That's lovely. Again, it's quite easy to just send someone off on the exit of a corner, right? And it's not your fault because I was ahead or whatnot. There was no chances left there. Both like, you know what? If this is going to be done properly, it's going to be done fair. I'd love to see that.
He cut across his front nose, though.
Yeah, opposed to his rear nose.
As opposed to his rear nose.
Yeah,
I just want to throw that one out.
It's a good spot.
Absolutely fine, no worries. Yeah, you throw me under the bus, potato,
Absolutely.
absolutely fine.
100%.
I mean, again, that considering the money on the line, considering what is on the line here, that is absolutely amazing from these two to have put on a show like that, and it certainly isn't done yet. Of course, these races are 8 minutes long, 3 minutes and 40 seconds remain in that, and whilst things have calmed down, the 5 of them are separated, all 5 are separated by 1 second. Incredible stuff as the defensive line's being taken from Janssen, almost comes back over the nose of Lullam there. All 6 of them are still involved in it. Morena Sharika seems to be struggling a little bit more on pace, but is still a part of the fight and will still play his part. I have absolutely no doubt in this showdown if they are going to take it properly to Redline.
Have you ever had the 6 cars this close, ever, before in a final? Can't remember, really.
I'm absolutely sure we would
Normally
have
there's one car that's like disappeared off the back. I think this might be the closest we've ever had 6 cars at this stage of a final, to be honest.
I'm absolutely sure we would have them remaining all 6 quite close. You know, in some of the races that we've had, whether it's been, I mean, some of the touring car stuff.
The Sebring round. I can't remember what car we were in there.
It was the Corolla.
Yeah, that's true. They were really close there, but it's quite rare that it's like this, to be honest.
Very much so. To have them this close throughout the entirety. Normally, someone's checked out or some team games are being played at this point. To have them this close, to have them this tight on the racetrack with a couple of laps left to go, it is normally not what we see, and it is what we're loving seeing here on the final day of ERWC II.
Yeah, 2 laps to go here. Janssen still holding on for Williams Esport in P1, but again, it wouldn't be enough as it stands. Needs one of his teammates to gain 1 position. Well, he needs Muto, basically, to gain 1 position here. With Redline being in 2nd and 3rd, they have 1 less point gained. It's the least amount of points that will win you each round. We've got Lullam in 2nd spot, Diego Pinto in 3rd. Lullam actually does have the fastest lap of the race. Enzo Benito currently in 4th spot. Doesn't need to be panicking about the most valuable driver. Already got that sewn up as well as Redline already have it sewn up as the champions of the ERWC II, but they will want to go out with a victory on iRacing. And as it stands, they are perfectly poised to do so.
Yeah, certainly so. And they've had an incredible time over 2022, and you know, they keep constantly showing it. The Williams Esports are really taking it to Team Redline at the moment, heading through leaky heights down towards the hairpin. Janssen's still able to hang on. He's only got a lap more to do so. He is soaking up that pressure. And I've said this before in conversations with people when it comes to, you know, I went to Apex, by the way, and talking to them about like PESCO stuff. And these days in sim racing at this kind of level, drivers just don't make mistakes. Not under pressure, they don't make mistakes. So if you want to get through, you have to find your way through, and this could be it for Lullam.
Yeah, Lullam looking for an opportunity, but again, I think the corner might come too quickly. No, it won't. Up the inside he will go, and Janssen then is going to have to filter in behind, goes for the switcheroo, swapperoo, whatever Crofty tends to call it. It's always different every race. And as we come through turn number 2, Lullam has done what he needed to do. As it stands, this is a perfect position right now for Redline, because they would be P1 and P2 on the start for race number 2. And even now, if Muto was to make a move here, it wouldn't be enough because Lullam leads. It's incredible stuff. Again, Janssen's going to... Oh, that's very interesting how that's gone down. I couldn't see exactly what happened there. I don't think there's a lot wrong in that either.
I get the feeling that Janssen might have turned in. There's a bit more contact, as I think that was Lullam trying to send it around the outside. It certainly was. I think there was obviously contact between the two, but I think it might have been the Williams turning in a bit too early. But I think it is going to be a 1-2 for Redline because Lullam's made his way through, and so Muto's trying to get around the outside into Lukey Heights. It could be a front row start in the next race for Williams, but it looks like it could be 1-0 Redline.
Yeah, again, I think that Redline were going to win this regardless here, and Williams have kind of worked themselves into a position to have a front row. Have they done that intentionally? Because Janssen did not really fight Lullam for the P1, really. So have they intentionally tried to get the front row? But as it stands, actually, Enzo Benito, as we come around the final corner, has just got himself into a P4. It's a 1-2 for Team Redline. And as they come across the line, I think Benito got third. So Carl Janssen now starts pole. What's he done there? I think that's a mistake.
I think Janssen's lifted out.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think Janssen lifted out for pole position. I absolutely think Janssen lifted out for pole position.
But you can see on Benito's face there. He's like, no, can't believe it.
Yeah, because obviously now he's not going to be starting for pole. But I mean, he's got a podium, so a bit more. He's already won the MVD, but fair enough.
It's not the worst result getting a 1-2-3 in the first race. In all fairness.
Yeah, that was brutal for Williams. Obviously, it went one way, it went back the other, it went back the other, it went back the other. For the most part, though, it was Redline looking very strong, and that's how it finished.
Here is your official results then. Diego Pinto P1, Lullen P2, Enzo Benito P3, Carl Janssen, who's been one of the most impressive drivers across the whole weekend, actually, I would say, in P4. Moreno Sorica in 5th position, and Sota Muto in 6th position. Yes, Redline do indeed manage to get themselves the race victory for number 1, but Carl Janssen will start pole for the second race. Will that have a big effect on us maybe going to a third race? I guess we're about to find out.
I think the one thing that we saw was some really close racing. No one being allowed to break away in a car that, if you get out of the drafting range, you could very much break away. But didn't really get a second look at that incident, Lewis. I mean, first impressions from the glances that we got?
I get the feeling it might have been the Williams turning in on the red line. With red line being first and second and third in that race, it means nothing would change. I think it would have been more on Williams' side of things. Kind of part of me leans towards where we were. What Luke was saying is that it might have just been one of those like racing things. Kind of those that dodgy contact that's thrown Lullem's car up into the air. One of those weird things. It is what it is at the end of the day. I don't think it's going to change the result. I don't
think anyone's done anything intentional there. I don't think it's a racing incident. But I do think Janssen was trying to drop back and make it a front row start for Williams. Absolutely. I think he realised very quickly that Muto is not going to be able to make that overtake. And they've decided, you know what, let's try and get the destiny in our own hands for race number 2 and have a front row lockout. And it's just not quite worked out. They have got one car up there, though. So, yeah, it's not worked out perfectly, but they've got an opportunity, I would say.
I think it's going to be quite difficult for them, actually, even though the racing's going to be close. Yes, Janssen's going to be first, but then Redline second through 4th. And then 2 Williams drivers at the very back. They're going to need some really great launches off the line and then some aggressive...
It's exactly the same as the first race. Janssen leading, 3 Redline cars, 2 Williams at the back, trying to get an overtake.
Pretty much how it ran, through the race,
It's how it ran. It's not how it started, though, where we had the perfect symmetry of Redline on one side and then Williams on the other. That was pretty nice to see as well. Drivers get a few moments here in warm-up. Don't think we're really going to see too much other than maybe them practicing a few standing starts. Now, the one thing that, Lewis, we get the benefit of in sim racing, right, is the fact that, yes, this car is a standing start with a manual clutch, but not many of these drivers are using foot clutches. A lot of them will be using hand clutches, the dual clutches in particular. And I saw a comment from Sean Arnold in our VCO Esports Twitch chat saying that the start failure that we saw from him earlier was not driver error, it was a hardware error instead.
It's always great to have your excuses, but no, for real. I mean, the thing
I'll let you tell Sean.
No, I'm terrified of him. He's a big, strong boy. But also, I mean, it's kind of one of those things when it comes to these start techniques. Like you say, there are hand clutches. You can kind of do things with like 2 hand clutches to make it start in weird ways where you can find that perfect bite point every single time. It's much more reliable than using like a foot clutch. Makes sense. If you've got it, use it, absolutely. It's kind of one of those things where it's like part of me wishes, and it's one of those things you can't do unless we were racing in person, wishes you could kind of like force it where they can't use any of those sort of like tools. I like the idea of them driving the car. I mean, hey, even in this, it would be too hard. But even H pattern and heel towing and everything like that, so those kind of things I'd love to see, but we can't.
Results are now confirmed, by the way. Redline does grab the victory in the first race. No race control intervention needed. Score is 3-9. And with that said, inverted top 4. The cars are already rolling off to the grid, getting ready to go racing for the second race in the Showdown. Is the Esports Racing World Cup about to come to an end? Let's go and find out at Phillip Island.
Here we go then, ladies and gentle cars. It's time for the second race. Will it be 2 or will it be 3? That is the question. Carl Janssen for Williams does start P1. Enzo Benito will join him on the front row. Then we've got Chris Lullum and Diego Pinto on the second row. And then Moreno Sorica and Sota Muto are your final row here. Redline win this race. It's done and dusted. They are not only the champions of the ERWC II, but they're also the champions on the day of iRacing as well. How's this going to go, Lewis? Is there a chance for Williams Or have Redline done too much of the hard work already?
I'm sticking to where I said earlier, is that I actually think this is just... I didn't know who it was then. Obviously, now, if it is the case, then it will be Redline. I still think this will be done in 2 races. I kind of like looking at this. As much as Sotomuto can really do something about Lullum and Pinto, and Janssen can absolutely win this race, there's just something about that partnership between Redline, their experience in these head-to-head fights. They know what they're doing. And even in a difficult car like this and a difficult track like this, they just seem to know how and when, more importantly, to fight.
Yeah, I agree. It's I think it's going to come down to experience. I think that specifically Sotomuto and Carl Janssen, Moreno Sarica's been around with the iRacing crowd of Williams for a while, but we haven't seen much of Janssen and Muto realistically over the last year or so. And they've come in and they've given some amazing performances, which have intrigued me to see them performing in the future as well. I want to see them in the next ERL, the next ERWC, all of that. So I think Williams have got a really bright future on many different platforms now. And I think they're genuinely the real deal across all the platforms. I've been saying to you for a long time, I said Williams are always there or thereabouts, and they've never quite reached, especially in our championships, that special level, the likes of what Redline are able to achieve. Maybe this race is a start of them doing that. They are here in the final, and that's the first step.
Well, very quickly, before we actually get to the race, remember Apex Racing Team did it in ERWC 1. They got through into that final, but then throughout the year, they really challenged Redline. Could this be Williams doing exactly the same thing? Like you said, they've been there or thereabouts consistently, but could this be the start of them being there? You know what I mean? Making that step.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe it could. I can see it, and who knows? This could be the first stepping stone.
But they've got zero choice. They have to win this race. It is as simple as that. They lose this race, they lose the day. So they need to come out absolutely flying here. Is this the final race of the ERWC II, or will we be treated to one more race? We're about to go green light racing. We are now indeed green light racing here as we see the smoke being kicked up, and Janssen with an absolute worldie at the start down in towards turn number 1. Enzo Benito then holding on to indeed P2. Got the fastest lap of the race so far as well already by the looks of things, which is great. Lullum then in third. Actually, that's those who we're looking at. Diego Pinto has been overtaken here by Moreno Sarica. So how big could that be? Can Sarica hold on to this? Unfortunately, I think we're going to be followed by another left-hander, so not ideal, but Sarica cannot quite keep it tucked in. So already Williams trying to make advancements here again. It would be P1 and P4 would be enough on countback. So he needs to make an overtake and needs to make it happen soon. Oh, contact.
Yeah, really set it in hard, did Moreno Sarica there. He's trying to get his way through. Once again, a big kick of oversteer off of the hairpin. Is he going to allow Sotomuto to come through as he did in the previous race? He certainly is. So Sotomuto making his way up into 5th position. Again, very briefly, Williams were in the lead of this race, 1st and 4th, and they were looking to work their way through. But realistically, once again, with 2nd, 3rd and 4th on the road, Diogo Pinto will desperately hang on from Sotomuto, because right now it would be enough for Redline to take it to 2-0. But we've got 6 minutes and 50 seconds and plenty more laps of action to take us through the final moments of Phillip Island.
Yeah, Carl Janssen and Enzo Benito have raced each other now 3 times today where they've been directly on track, P1, P2, or indeed in the previous race, 3rd and 4th. And Janssen has not come out on top yet. Enzo Benito closes up with the slipstream here. On to lap number 2 we go. Takes the inside line, and well, there's a bit of contact between the two of them. As we come through turn number 1, the job is done here, but Janssen, is he going to fight back? There's no gap to fight back with, and Enzo Benito, using every ounce of experience, the wily old fox takes the lead.
Yeah, certainly so. And again, it swings even more to the favour of Team Redline at the moment. Enzo Benito hanging on. Janssen then dropped down to 2nd. Chris Lullum looking to try and fight his way through. If he can make it a 1-2, it'd be very big. And he sent it down the inside with a massive move into the hairpin. Once again, I think Janssen's got the outside line, which will give him just that perfect drive off the inside line into Siberia. Enzo Benito holding on to the race lead. Lullum to the outside at Siberia. And Carl Janssen, are we going to see it again? More side by side between these two.
I love this. Again, you can see that Enzo's trying to give the toe to Lullum, trying to make it as easy as possible for his teammate. And actually, he's going to give him the spot. He was trying to hold Janssen up. Redline building that wall once again. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is perfect teamwork.
Yeah, the experience of Enzo Benito to know how to do that. It's potentially a little bit too deep from Janssen, but he manages to get his way back onto the racing line just over the nose of Diogo Pinto. It's a 1-2 for Team Redline.
That's outstanding, Lewis. That is outstanding. Enzo
amazing.
almost throwing away the lead in such a way, flat out, in a car you're not really used to then let your teammate get an overtake. That is the difference between being good and great.
Yeah, simply amazing. Jansen's not done though, as once again, Benito's doing the same thing. He's trying to make it a 1-2-3. This could be incredible for Team Redline as Diogo Pinto with the inside line through turn 2, as it is going to be a 1-2-3, but Benito with a costly mistake. Sorry, it's Lullen with a costly mistake.
Lullen goes off the circuit here, and wow, has that thrown a bone towards Williams Esports here. Carl Jansen now back up to the lead, and I tell you what, as we see Diogo Pinto all of a sudden out of nowhere into the lead of this race as well. So yeah, Chris Lullen has fallen off the race circuit. We had the fastest formation lap we've ever had in the world down towards turn 1 and turn 2, and I don't think there's any contact that's caused him to go off there as well. I think that was genuinely a driver error.
I think he's just driven it in too hard, and like you said, opened the door for Williams. Thankfully, his teammates are there to back him up in first and third at the moment as Benito's trying to get his way past Carl Jansen. Williams can't believe their luck with that happening. We'll take a replay of it, and once again it was that race into the first corner which was just crazy. There was a bit of lifting off, there was a bit of attempts to try and make it like, well, not 3 wide, but it was just trying to allow the teammates through. This is Lullen getting to the outside then, going through the first corner, Benito with the inside run, and then like you say, just driven it in way too deep into turn 2, so deep. See ya. I thought it was Benito straight around the outside, but no, it was Lullen solo.
Yeah, I think Lullen had kind of not broken enough and realised he's going to take out his teammate and just kept going. Instead of taking his teammate out of Benito, he's just driven it through the apex there. Oh, he nearly saved it, to be fair to him. But yeah, that could have been even worse for Redline. Luckily, I think Lullen, well, he's not in this race now. He's down in P6, but that could have been worse. That could have been him and Benito both out. But as it stands, Pinto does indeed take full advantage of that. Jansen in second spot. And Jansen and Muto, they've been the superstars that have announced themselves within this championship this weekend. We need one more bit of magic here, Lewis. One overtake is enough for Williams to take this to a race number 3. It has to be Jansen. Jansen has to get past Pinto.
Yeah, or, you know, yeah, let's say Jansen past Pinto would be enough. There's no real other way unless Sotomuto gets past Benito and Moreno Sirica is a little bit further off. If he also gets past Enzo Benito, that would also be enough. I'm not sure that's the more likely of the two. Diogo Pinto, he's not the kind of driver to crack. He knows how to get these races done. Yes, sure, this is not normally a typical car for him, fair enough. But when it comes to high-pressure scenarios, he's a fantastic one to deal with it.
Here we go, the long start-finish straight again here. Can Jansen potentially find himself a snifter of an opportunity? There we go, into the slipstream he goes, takes that inside line. Diogo Pinto has to leave the room. Has he got it done before they go through the apex? He absolutely has. Dives towards the inside, and Carl Jansen has got the magic. He has got P1, and as it stands now, Williams do take it to a race 3.
Yeah, this will go to a third. We will need another qualifying session. We will need another race in the showdown to see who's going to be victorious if it continues on like this. Sotomuto's also trying to make a move in the background to grab third position. As there's a couple of squirmy braking moments there from Diogo Pinto as he's trying to get over. Big kick of oversteer from Sotomuto, leaving the hairpin. Big dive to the inside to chop the nose off of Sotomuto from Enzo Benito. But right now, it's starting to look good for Williams.
Certainly is. They right now do indeed, on countback, make it a third race in this final. Again, Team Redline have won the whole championship. They've won the weekend. But again, there's money on the line for this individual iRacing day. Carl Jansen has got a few corners plus 1 lap to go. Can he hold on here? He's got in behind him Diogo Pinto, the current PESC champion on iRacing, current leader of this season in 2023 as well. The PESC, Enzo Benito, one of the best all-round drivers of all time behind him. And then we've got one of the young guard. We've got Sotomuto, who has indeed got to back his teammate up. But as we come down towards turn number 1, it's going to be the reverse here. It is going to be Pinto that does indeed get ahead down in towards turn 1. And as they come down towards turn 2, has to leave the room here because Jansen has kept the nose there, has got the overlap, but can he keep this position? Oh, it's brilliant from both of them, leaving the perfect amount of room. Jansen still just about has the nose, but Pinto has got the overspeed here. And as we head then through the sweeping left-hander, who's going to come out on top? I think Pinto will have the inside line. Oh, it's a big contact in the background. That is the battle for P3. And you can see then Janssen trying to indeed be patient here to retake the position. He now hits the grass. He's gone as well. And now as it stands, we've got Muto and Sarika. Janssen going to come back on in P. No, he doesn't. So Lullen, who was absolutely nowhere, is now into P4. And that would give Redline the advantage. Take us through this replay here.
Yeah, we'll see what happened. I mean, we've got to see him across the line at the moment because they're going to be heading down, but I think it might have been Sotomuto into the rear end, as we'll see. Let's see exactly.
Oh, it's a late move. That's a late move. That's not Williams. That's not on Williams for me.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. We'll have to wait and see because Race Control are going to have to deal with it. At the moment, though, Redline will take this to 2-0, but Race Control need to step in, I think.
Yeah, I think Redline are going to get a penalty point here. It's the end of the lap. I don't think we're going to know exactly who's done and dusted here. Diego Pinto will cross the line and take victory. I'm not sure he was too much involved in the whole situation. We then got Muto finishing second, Sarika third. We've got Lullen in fourth. Have they won it in two? I'm not too sure. I think we're going to a third race here. I think Redline might be in trouble for that late move. Here's the official results here. Pinto takes P1, Sotomuto second, Marino, Sarika third, Chris Lullen in fourth, Benito and Carl Janssen round out your top six. Arjuna, oh, what do you think? Are we going for a third race? Do you think there's a penalty on the line for Redline? I don't know. And breathe.
I'm not sure either, and once again, I'm just glad that I'm not in Race Control, who have definitely been kept busy so far today. Plenty for them to work their way through. I do get the sense we're likely going to need to have probably a few minutes of hold here before we know for sure.
One more race. One more race. I want another one. I want to see it go to a third.
What do you think, Lewis?
Part of me kind of thinks that, realistically, I agree with what we said in that. I think Enzo Benito was the one that instigated that contact late on. It's whether they feel that it penalised and hurt Williams in that scenario, right? If him moving across. Now, it kind of lean towards probably yes. Obviously, that's one thing that they'll need to go through over and over again to see if that was the case. But the it definitely wasn't on Williams, right? It was Enzo Benito.
If they were braking and he's moved, that is, it doesn't matter what happened afterwards.
It's a penalty.
It's a penalty.
Yeah, essentially.
It doesn't. You know, it's all about the action, isn't it? It's not what happened afterwards. It's about the action. If he was under braking and he's moved across, it is a stone wall penalty.
One thing that we know for sure is if we're going to go to a race number 3, we're going to need a new iRacing server. We could run the first 2 races in the Showdown using iRacing Heat functionality. Brand new server going to be required with qualifying if that is required. We'll give Race Control a few moments to work through everything and decide if we need the third and final Showdown to close out this World Cup. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on VCO Esports.
Fat finger Mike.
Well,
nice.
hello everyone as we get set to close out the Esports Racing World Cup because the racing is done. Race Control has come to their conclusions. No post-race penalties needed in the showdown. It is Team Redline 2, Williams Esports 0, and in many ways, as we'll get the yeeting of the logos off the board, in many ways, Lewis, it feels like deja vu to last year. Unicorns of Love won on day number 1 in Assetto Corsa Competizione before Redline did Redline things and won on day 2 and day 3.
Now come to me. Hold on, come to me.
No, sorry.
We should be giving them a penalty just so we can go to 3 races.
There is.
Like,
I mean,
I just want 3 races. It was so good.
the thing is, like, the racing between them was great. Phillip Island, by the way, great choice. I know you were really rooting the Watkins Glen thing. I mean, we had some really solid racing there. Anyone wondering why it didn't go to a penalty with Enzo Benito? Well, we were hearing from race controllers there was a netco between the 2 cars. There was no actual contact. At which point, when there's no contact,
We only saw it once, right? So we just get excited. But
exactly.
We don't know when they're breaking and stuff, so yeah, we're just making
They can see it from above. They can see all the
guessing.
gaps. So yeah, in that sense, when that's the case, yeah, it is fair enough. I think we need to give a massive shout out to Williams for putting out a fantastic fight there against Redline, putting on an excellent show for us to all watch. Redline also, credit to both of the teams in the final, but
Redline get too much credit anyway.
Exactly, they get too much
Just
credit.
Williams.
So screw them. Just Williams.
Williams are going to finish 4th even after the disappointing day that they had on rFactor 2. I think they'll take plenty of positives into the Esports Racing League for 2023 when we pick back up. Here's a look at the bracket and just a confirmation of your winners here on day number 3 and your winners of the Esports Racing World Cup. It's Team Redline once again.
Yeah, certainly is, and they've been amazing.
Let's work our way through our post-race and post-event interviews here. Unfortunately, Luke Crane is again going to have to watch but not talk to Enzo Benito. Let's drag the man in. Enzo, Esports Racing World Cup champions once again, and it was an interesting final day. Talk us through your experience competing across 3 different platforms with the same result as 2022.
Oh wow, amazing. I didn't think I could have done it again, to be honest, because the first time I don't know, I did it anyway. It's crazy. I'm really tired, by the way. I had to drink lots of Red Bulls, but but it's been an amazing experience. I look forward to do it again and again and again, because as long as we win, right? Who doesn't want to do it again? So, but congrats to my teammates, because they also did lots of work, and I mean, for sure, like as you see in the shadow, where everybody was super quick, and I can't win these races by myself, So we are all on the same pace, and it's amazing as always.
Hey, you showed us that you're a real team player in those showdown races, trying to work with your teammates as well. And you say that you give a lot of credit to your teammate, but we'll give you some credit as well, Enzo. You are our most valuable driver with the most podiums across of the Esports Racing World Cup.
Yeah, let's go. Nice. Thanks, guys.
What was the most difficult car to master across the 3 platforms, in your opinion? Because I think you are one of the few drivers that can genuinely answer this.
So this Lotus was definitely really hard to drive, but the track was a little bit more forgiving. I think you don't have all these slow corners or these really tight corners where the car really needs to get wheelie. You need to really have to fight the car. No, I think the track was okay, but I don't know. It's not like more of a car problem where you can't drive it. It's more of a simulator issue right now, where it's ACC still, where I found it harder than this car, which is something that we still need to figure out. But I think it's a lot of it has to do with the setup, because we really don't have a clue sometimes of what we are doing. But I think we will work harder and harder on it, and we definitely need to come back on that.
Can't wait to see you in the Esports Racing League later in 2023. We'll go from Enzo Benito over to Chris Lullum, who made his first appearance in this World Cup today on iRacing. Chris, usually more accustomed to seeing you in tin tops. What was it like switching over from a GT machine over to this Lotus 79, an open wheel car that does have the new tire model, but definitely not a car you probably have much experience in?
Yeah, no, I'm fairly familiar with sort of much slower Formula cars, but this was a very, very different thing to get used to. A lot of power, crazy amount of downforce, but no, I got the hang of it. I finally got a nice pole lap in at the end. I think that was a pretty good lap, but no, the racing is quite difficult. You've got to be super careful with wheel banging. You can't afford any errors at all, but no, I really enjoyed today. It was good fun.
You're no stranger to this format. We've seen you before in the Esports Racing League, but what are the chances we get you on some of the other simulators, Chris? I mean, only on iRacing, we got to get you out of your comfort zone a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I would love to do rFactor and maybe not so much ACC, but no, I really did enjoy my experience in rFactor earlier as well, especially as I won Le Mans Virtual. So.
Definitely sounds like Redline is not on the ACC bandwagon just yet. Chris, well, thank you for the time. We'll head on over to the final of the teammates, Diogo Pinto, who for the very first time got to experience the craziness that is this Esports Racing World Cup. Diogo, how did you enjoy your weekend in this Lotus 79? And following on from the victory last year for your team, you got to be part of the success here in 2023.
Yeah, it was a really fun event. I haven't done any kind of this event with VCO yet, so I was looking forward to racing with this car. It's a very specific car to drive. It requires a very unique driving style, so it was quite fun. The track I was not expecting to be very good. I had to buy the track a couple hours before the race and learn it, so I'm happy to win both Showdown races. It's quite good.
I'm happy to have contributed to you expanding your iRacing content collection as well. In terms of next week, for those that are not watching, your defense of your Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Championship started off the season quite well, captain consistent as per usual, but the fans have spoken, much like they did today, to go to Phillip Island. You're going racing at Long Beach next week. What are you thinking about that one?
Yeah, the racing is going to be chaotic for sure. The street track. I would say it's not my best track in terms of pace, but I just have to adapt to every track like I used to do, and for sure I'll be up there and hopefully keep the championship lead.
Saw some great speed and potential. Hoping to see more out of you, Diogo, in the Esports Racing League for 2023. Congratulations, though, you are a World Cup winner.
Thank you.
It's going to wrap up our post-race interviews. Thank you to the 3 Redline teammates for coming and chatting with us. Of course, we talked to the other 2 drivers, Jeffrey Rietveld as well as Kevin Siggy yesterday, Luke. And yeah, deserving back-to-back champions. Team Redline here, maybe no surprise.
The fact that, even Enzo's talking there about how they still need to find some improvement on ACC. They're not happy. They're not happy with this result. They want to do even better. In a perfect world, they win all 3 days, right? That's not great for us spectators. We want to kind of see, a different winner potentially each week. But even if they, do not do so well on ACC, it tends to still be a top 4, top 5. A massive result which sets them up because they know they're going to be strong on rFactor 2 and iRacing. An exceptional team. Very obvious that they were going to be up there because they have been that exceptional team for a very long time. I still wish there was a 3rd race, but they're very much deserving champions.
Isn't Redline, I think, excluding the Masters, I'm pretty sure Redline's lowest finish is 4th. Across that is across ERWC where it was 3rd, I remember, because then it was 3rd first. And then in ERL, they got to loads of finals, etc. I'm pretty sure their lowest finish.
So you're saying they had a pretty poor weekend then, really?
Awful.
Yeah,
awful.
did pretty badly this week.
Awful. They only had
their worst performance ever.
Yeah, it's terrible. So
well,
I'm sure
let's
Luke will
look
correct me after this broadcast. It's fine.
Let's look forward then, Lewis, with this Esports Racing World Cup now done and dusted for 2023. Hopefully we can look forward to a live in-person finale, an Esports Racing World Cup 2024. However, it's all about the journey to get there. We'll take a look at the points now as we confirm that Team Redline are indeed your champions. Unicorns of Love, R8G, Williams, TRITON, and BS Competition, the rest of the top 6. But the Esports Racing League is going to begin in earnest in just a few months, Lewis, and it, of course, will all build up as once again a handful of teams will enter, and maybe only 12 will end up at the World Cup next year.
Yeah, again, it's the best drivers, their best teams to get their way through. And of course, whilst we were looking at the standings there, let's focus a little bit more on the dosh that's been handed out. Team Redline taking 15 15 grand from the weekend. Of course, that comes from day victories on day 2 and day 3, but also the championship victory. They have taken a hefty amount of money. But also, let's not forget Team Fordzilla, who have shown up here. They've brought their drivers along. They're the lowest placed team on there. They've scored the lowest amount of prize money available for this, and it's still $750 for 3 days' work. That is not bad. Incredible amounts of money being posted out.
$150 each.
Yeah, not bad.
Lovely.
It's been a long journey since January of 2022 when we started this. We've had so much fun along the way, and we'll hopefully start it all once again in just a few more months to build on the Esports Racing League and build up to the World Cup in 2024. For now, though, it is time to say goodbye. For our entire team over at Simply Race, on behalf of everyone at VCO, my name is Arjuna Kenkipati, delighted to have been alongside with Luke Crane and Lewis McLeod for this Esports Racing World Cup 2. Lots of deja vu back to 2022, but once again, it's Team Redline, winners on rFactor 2 and on iRacing, and your Esports Racing World Cup champions. We'll see you next time. For now, so long and goodbye.